Hello and welcome to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host Kyle. I'm joined by my two friends Dan and Matt. We got some stuff to get through here. We got some games. We have a game that you and I have both been playing now, Dan, that we can discuss together. So you can even discuss the odyssey it took to get to you.
It wasn't as weird as it seems. It
took a scenic route at one point.
It took a while, yeah.
A little bit of a scenic route. So the first thing I'll put out there, I jumped into Dragon's Dogma on the Xbox now that this update came out for 120 hertz. So if you have a TV that has the ability to do 120 hertz, the game works really, really well. Like way better than the PC version, which I've put, some time into. So it also tells me that game is very CPU bound and not like video card bound. So, but I'm enjoying it. What I really like about that game, and this is probably the same way in the first one, I just never really got into the original one, is like the sense of exploration. It doesn't hold your hand with everything. Nighttime is like, think about like the best example I can use is like, think about Dying Light, how crazy and terrifying it is to be outside at night.
Right.
Dragon's Dogma is the same way.
Interesting.
So if you don't have a lantern, you cannot see shit.
Oh damn.
If you have your lantern on, it gets crazy terrifying. So like you might not see anything going on around you, and then all of a sudden you might see like a light in the distance and you're like, what's that? So like for when I was playing the other day, I was walking down this path. I got like the couple pawns or whatever that I have with me. And then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, I just see a light start coming faster and faster towards me. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And it keeps coming. All of a sudden, it's like this group of people just runs past me and they're being chased by skeletons. And I'm like, and then you can stop and you can fight. But yeah, like it's terrifying. And like they don't show you any of this to you on the map or anything. There's no warning. It just happens in the world. So, but it has a learning curve. I like the best way I could compare it would be like maybe a learning curve, like the same way that Dark Souls has a learning curve, but it's not a Dark Souls like game. So you're not going to have, it's not meant to be punishingly difficult in the way that a Souls game is. It's more of like learning how the game works in the systems. So, but I've been enjoying that a little bit. My buddy wanted to look at State of Decay 2. State of Decay 2 is like a pretty good like staying game for my buddy and I. So after a while, we typically go back and look at it. So we played a little bit more State of Decay 2 for a while. Nothing really more. They keep continuing to update that game, even though they're working on the third one in the background. So like they've added this new thing that's almost like it's kind of like a dice roll.
Okay.
So like what it'll do is like all of a sudden at random it'll pick like a new variable on the map that you're on. So like for example, it might do a dice roll and be like, okay, well now there's this specific type of bloater zombie that has a different form of acid that you cannot combat. And it's going to be on the map for 20 minutes and it's going to infect whatever zombies are around it, and then those zombies can affect other ones, so it could spread across the map. Yeah, it's really weird. You can turn it off because I know some people don't like it, but it's actually really cool. So I feel like they'll probably drag that into the third game whenever that comes out. But they keep updating that game, like for a game that's been out for like 6 years. So that's been fun to go back to. Then this week, I don't even know what possessed me to do this, but I was on Steam one day after work. I saw, like, I didn't even know this was happening. I've been looking at this game for the last year and I've been curious about it. And they just put out a big update that like it's supposed to overhaul a lot of the stuff with the game, which is Atlas Falls. Can I remember that was the sand game that came out like this time last year?
Yeah, I remember that.
From Focus, I think it's from Focus something. They're called Focus Group maybe or something like that. They're the same people I talked about last week that did the poor man's Returnal.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the same. So it's the same like publisher. I don't think it's the same team, but so I was like, all right, it was $20 on Steam. They had this big update that came out. It was on sale, and I was like, well, I've been wanting to play it for a while. I've been watching it, go on sale on the consoles, but it never goes under 30. So $20 seemed like a no-brainer. The game is terrible. And I've only ever refunded like 2 other games on Steam. I refunded this. And the reason why, it could just be a PC thing. It might not be how this is on console. The game crashed on me twice in an hour, and it has terrible audio syncing issues with the dialogue and like the people talking. And I couldn't do it.
What caused it to crash?
I just like I could. You tell me. Like,
Okay.
I'm in the middle. Like I'm literally in the middle of fighting these enemies, and all of a sudden, like boom, game crashed. I'm like, that's weird. Like because that games rarely ever crash on my PC, and I'm like, all right. So I go and boot it up again. Completely different area. I literally just walked into this town after like the intro of the game. Crash. Like I wasn't doing anything. I just walked into this town. Crash. And I'm like, after the second crash, I loaded it back up, and then I asked myself, I'm like, am I even having fun here? Like, no. In the beginning of the game, it's weird. You play as a character that almost looks like it's out of James Cameron's Avatar. Like you're a blue dude just running around, and like it's supposed to be like some sort of dream thing or something. I think a dream sequence or something. But like nothing about the lore in this world captured me in that hour. And between the crashes and stuff, I'm like, if this is the experience and I played an hour, I'm just gonna refund it.
It's only gonna get worse.
Yeah. So I was like, and especially when you're telling me that this is the new patch you just put out that did all these updates for this game and it's crashed twice. No thanks. So I would say avoid that one. But then the other big thing that I've been playing, I've talked about it last week. Now you have had as well, Dan, because you finally got your physical copy.
Yes, I did.
Would be Baldur's Gate 3. Why don't you tell me about your like what you're enjoying, because you know what I enjoy about the game. I like rolling the dice.
Well, I mean, it's all about rolling the dice, but one of the things I like so far, I'm not, obviously like the judgment of how far you are in this game is difficult to even comprehend, because you can do almost whatever you want kind of out of the gate.
Yeah.
So I've been to some towns. I've done that. You know what I really like doing was that first like little dungeon thing you find to the side where those guys arguing. So I'm playing as a paladin, and my original thought as a playthrough would be I would try to talk down people as much as possible and just try to do like dialogue stuff and not fight as much as possible just to see, and to reject the mind worms and all this kind of stuff and try to be like a true paladin. That fell apart a couple hours in, just because like, it's some of the stuff like talking people down, it can get real difficult.
It can get really difficult, and the way it branches out,
it's crazy.
And the way it gives you decisions where you're like, I don't know what way to go in this. And
so
you have to really sit and think about it.
So if you did that dungeon, I assume, right?
That's
or
the
you finished it. It's like
the very
like
first one,
the little like church thing to the side where the guys are talking on top. So I managed to convince them to leave. I was like, okay, so they left. And then I went over to the door, and there's the guy behind the door, and I couldn't get in the door. Okay. So I kind of left it alone for a while because I couldn't find another decent way in that didn't seem like it would be wrong or hurt me or whatever. Then I've been kind of exploring. I finally came back much later, and you can do that thing where you drop the thing and break the hole in the ceiling.
Okay.
So I jumped in there. There was nobody there. But then I saw that the guys were on the other side of the wall. So it was really funny because the door was open. And I was standing there, and I knew I was going to have to fight these guys because they're all pretty much like primed and ready to go, and they'd been yelling at me through the door. So I saw there were a couple guys standing next to an oil barrel. So what I did was I positioned 2 people next to the door on my side, and then I had 2 alchemist fire. I don't know where they came from, but I had them, and I threw one of them through the doorway. The thing exploded, killed 2 of them immediately, and then everybody else catches on fire. And then they were coming like running through the door, and every time they would run through the door to try to hit me, I'd get opportunity attacks from both sides. So it was actually a really funny fight because I completely set it up on accident.
Yeah.
And it just worked out in my favor. You
were able to dominate.
Yeah. But the thing is like there's other fights in the game where it does not go in your favor at all.
Okay. No, for sure.
So I've done a lot of stuff. Like I went to like the Blight Town and kind of explored there a little bit. I haven't done much there. I went to like the I guess you would call it like a stronghold or like an outpost for like the first goblin thing.
Yeah.
And I was trying to sneak through there, and the one guy kept being like, hey, I see you. I'm going to attack you. And finally I snuck up behind him and shot him. And then everything kicked off over there. So that was kind of a crazy fight. And then you get to that like big goblin camp. And
yep, that's where I am right now.
I am terrified to do anything in there because I feel like one wrong move could just set that whole place off.
Let me give you some advice on the goblin camp.
Well, I'm out of there and I'm doing the next part, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. But tell me what happened.
So the goblin camp, when I got there, like the mission or whatever is to kill those 3 people that are the heads, right?
Sure.
And I did that, and that took a session of that game for me because again, I'm not a D&D person. I don't know a lot about that, so a session of that a night was like me taking on one of those bosses each night, and then I'm like, okay, I'm good here. I'll come back to this tomorrow because for me. This is not a game I could sit and play 20 hours in. Like that's not. It would be. Yeah, it's difficult to do that. But it's not that I'm not enjoying the game at all. It's just I wouldn't be able to do that. But after I got rid of the third one, and I was like, okay, I've killed all these 3 people. I'll just fucking leave this camp. No, you then have to fight everybody that's left in the camp.
That's insane to me.
And so I walked out, and that's where I've saved the game. And I have not gone back to it in a couple days since that. That's where I'm at because I'm like, I don't know if that's what I want to do. It's like I literally walked out, all of a sudden it's like red. Like I just see the map light. I'm like, what's happening? And then all these goblins are attacking me. I'm like, oh, I have to fight all these people now.
Okay, so let me tell you what happened to me. So in that like Grove area, I've done a pretty good job of like talking everybody down in there. I recruited that Will guy. I have Asterion. I have everybody else. So I freed a goblin that was like caught in the cage. And
I know who you're talking about.
And helped her fight her way out like the back door. And then eventually I met up with her in the goblin camp because I was just wandering around exploring. And I met that matron, that drow matron woman in the back, and basically told her like she found out where the grove was from the goblin I saved. So then in order for things not to go super bad, I had to tell her that I will help you attack the grove. Okay. So now I go back to the grove and I had to tell these guys, I'm like, she's coming. Yeah. And they're all like, okay, well, we need to be prepared. We're ready for it. So they, you know where that like drawbridge door is, or like the drop down thing is. So they set it up outside where there's like fire barrels buried under the ground and stuff. And then you can kick off the fight. And I kicked off the fight, and she shows up and she basically like mind talks to you and says, good job, doing whatever. Now slit his throat and open the door. And I told her, fuck off, I'm helping these guys instead. Because you're a creepy spider lady and I don't want any part of it. Yeah. And she said, okay, fine, I'll just kill all of you. And then the fight kicks off and there's giant spiders. There's an ogre that throws barrels that has goblins inside of it. Awesome. There's dudes with bombs on there. This fight is crazy. I've died twice because it's fucking insane. Yeah. Because the spiders can jump, the dudes can jump, the guy throws them. She can move super fast. She can blink move. I have to like replan this whole thing out because it's so crazy. I tried throwing a firebomb down there. It blew everything up, including the 3 people on my team. That was a mistake. There you go. But they're also weak, so like they die quickly. Yeah. But it's funny because like this is how this whole thing turned out. Yeah.
So in my game, the lady, the goblin lady that's in the cage. Yeah. They killed her.
Oh, I stopped it.
So in my, like, they totally found out I was talking to her, and then I was like, whatever, I'll go off and do something else. I came back, she's dead in the cage. Oops. I was like, oh, well. And I just kept going with the game because I'm like, fuck it.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is as a paladin, saving her is the wrong thing to do. Yeah. So, are you playing as a paladin?
What is my character a paladin? My character's a magic user. I can't remember if it's a paladin.
So, as a paladin, I swore this oath to uphold being a paladin. And when I broke out of jail, this fucking demon guy shows up and he goes, "You made a mistake. You broke your oath." And I'm like, "What the fuck does this mean?" So then you go back and like, this seems bad. Like, this seems real bad. Yeah. But then you go back to your camp and he's there and he's like, if you want to break your oath, you can. You'll become more powerful. So it's like I'm respecting my paladin as a different class. Okay. So it's pretty cool because now it's, instead of being bound by a paladin's things, I'm bound by my own decisions.
I think I'm just a mage,
but it gave me powers. And then also like
that's cool.
The camp events. I love the camp events because like I had the weird where like the dream lady came and she's like, "You should eat all these worms," and I'm like, "Okay, fine, I'll eat the worms." So I got one and I ate it, and then you get like weird powers from that. Asterion tried to turn me into a vampire.
Yeah, that's how I learned stopped that. I didn't know anything about that. And then, like, again, that dude's like performance is so captivating.
They all
for
give
video games.
They
It's
all
ridiculous.
give really good performances.
Yeah, I don't know.
Even
they like extracted this next level performance out of
even
these
like
people.
the Gale. I did not like him at first, but like as you deal with him more and like he starts to tell you more stuff, I'm like, damn, I actually kind of like Gale.
Is he in your party like as you're playing right now, or is he just at your camp?
He's my mag. So I have me as the paladin. I have Shadowheart as like the cleric. I have him as the magic user who just magic missile all the damn time. And then I have Astarion now as like a thief guy who can sneak attack.
Okay.
His
So you're not using
fight
the,
mechanic is really good.
The goblin lady, I can't, or whatever she is. I can't think of her name.
Liesel,
yeah, I'm
not using her.
Okay.
I was using her for a little bit until I found Astarion. Because the way the game works, I didn't find Astarion for probably like 10, 15 hours. Because I never went back that way.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
That's cool.
So I went up the other way, and then only later I was like, let's go back and explore some more while I try to find.
He was one of the first characters I found, and then what's funny is like maybe right after him. So the very first time I played the game, when I was like, I'm not into this, I turned it off. I never found that Gale guy. Yeah. And then this time, all of a sudden, I walked it through this other way, and it was like, this dude comes out of a portal. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I found him first.
Who are you? But all right.
Yeah.
Like, you're with us, so.
So yeah,
the only character I knew about ahead of time when I was playing is that character of Shadowheart. So both times I played, I've made sure to save her from the ship at the beginning.
Yeah. So I love how we've had wildly different experiences, and we're only in like the first part of the first area.
Have you even gone to like the left side of the map and gone to see the witch?
Nope.
In the bog?
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
That's even more crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Do that. Because the way that like boils down is one of those situations again where I'm like, I had to sit and think of like, what do I do? Like, what do I choose for this dialogue? Because there's just so many paths that it can go.
Yeah,
so
I have not.
That is also the same direction where I think I said last time I recorded, that's where I found the guy that was hunting Astarion. And I'm like,
nope.
We don't know who he is. And then I was
him.
like, fuck it. Oh, he's this guy right here that we just fought and killed him.
Did you find like the guy that was dying on the ground with like the two people next to him?
No.
There's like a guy. There's like a guy that's like dying, and then he's got like his two like followers or whatever near him. Okay. So I went up and I talked to them, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they're telling me like, "Oh, he's sick," but you can, but you know how you can easily identify anybody who has like a worm in their head. So like, I was talking to him, and there's the whole thing about like true souls and all this kind of stuff. And then the people were like, "Oh, we were with him, and we were trying to help find people who were on the ship because the ship crashed and people might be hurt." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm on the ship. I was on the ship." And they go, "Oh, you were?" And then immediately turns into a fight. And I'm like, "Shit!" Awesome. So I had to kill these people. It's like, oh, sorry.
Did you go to the one town where they had the guy like hung up on the windmill?
No,
going around.
I haven't seen him.
That's an interesting.
I went and I talked to those ogres and talked them down from eating me.
Yeah, I did that too. Yeah. And then like you could call them in like to help you later on.
Yeah, I basically was like, hey, because I could use intimidation on him. I was like, yeah, okay, you do what I want to do now.
I had some successful dice rolls there.
Yeah,
so now
I've had a couple there.
It's a hell of a video.
It's such a crazy game, and like the first time I'm playing through, I'm just kind of letting stuff happen because I kind of want to see what happens.
I would say all of this has happened to me in maybe 10 hours of playing this game. Like that's the thing. Like it's not like I played hours and hours and scoured this world to see this. This has all happened within
I feel like
10 hours.
I've done nothing.
That's wild.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
And I'm just kind of stumbling into stuff as it happens.
I'm like, okay. I did at one point I bumbled into something where they do come up on the screen and they're like, are you really sure you want to go this way right now? Because you really should do this, this, and this and come back.
You hit the point of no return.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, no, and then I just left that area. So.
I'm at least happy that the game does that because I don't want to miss.
No. I'm going to
miss a lot of stuff, but I don't want to miss everything.
I also don't want to get into a situation, and I'm glad the game does that, where I walk down a way and then all of a sudden now these people are 30 levels higher than me, and there's like in this game, that'd be chaos.
Detrimental. Yeah, I mean, this fight I'm on now is making me reconsider. Like, I might have to go do something else and come back because you get swarmed. There's things on the left, there's things on the right. Things can jump in the front. Things go around the back, and it's just. And I've only got 4 people. It's crazy. I'm fighting like 15.
Yeah, it gets.
Yeah, it gets out of hand.
The game gets crazy.
That's wild.
So.
But it's cool though. I really like it.
And you're playing. Well, you're on PlayStation, so you're playing a controller.
Yeah, it's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
It's the one thing I like about the controller controls versus PC is on PC, obviously everything is you point, the character moves there.
Mm-hmm.
You click, with the mouse and the controller, you can just move the character freely when you're not in a battle.
Right.
And that's cool.
The only downside to this is probably a game thing and not just like playing it on console, but the camera stuff is a little weird.
It can get wonky
because the way it just pulls out and zooms in, and you know me, like most of the stuff I try to do inverted, this isn't, so it's kind of
probably a little cumbersome,
frustrating. Yeah, but I'll get used to it. It's not that big.
So
but
it's
I love this game, man. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, I have an opportunity tomorrow night to dive into some more of it.
And I know it took forever for us to play it, but it was because I was really waiting on a physical copy. And
my thing was I was waiting for it to come to the Xbox, and then, like I said, then I couldn't get into it there, and then for whatever reason, for me it feels more like a PC game. So
it definitely is.
And like I said, I have moved my save over. I can totally play it on the Xbox, the same save if I want to. It doesn't unlock the achievements on that playthrough. Right. And I don't want to do that. So
yeah, I was really waiting to get this.
That's cool. That is cool to own.
It's really big, and it's got like the slipcover thing, and then it slides out this way, and it's got a map thing, and this is it stuff I really care about? No, but it's
cool to have it be, especially even though you're playing on a console.
Yeah,
and the first two games were PC. The way that box is made reminds me of those bigger PC boxes.
That's exactly what it's like. It's just like a PC big box game. Yeah, and it's nice that it's the full game. It doesn't need an online patch. Not that you wouldn't, but you can play this game offline with an install. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And like I said, I mean, what is a game like co-op?
I don't even know.
Like that's it, because I totally forget. That's the one thing that escapes me is like you can play this game fully in 4-player co-op if you want.
Yep.
Like online. So
that
I think you play split screen. But yeah, it seems like the kind of thing where like maybe down the road I'd want to try that, but I'd want to play through it once first.
Yeah, I need to play by myself first before
it just seems like it's so in depth. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
So but fantastic game.
Yeah.
I'll leave it over to you for everything else that you've played.
Okay. The other main thing I played is I did play the Visions of Mana demo that came out, just because I really wanted to see like what that game is going to be like.
On my Black Friday list this year.
It is. I really, really liked it, and I know you will too, because it's a mixture of a lot of games that you like.
Isn't the combat kind of like Ys?
It's kind of like Ys. It's kind of like Tales. It's obviously it's a mana game, so it has some Chrono Trigger-esque elements to it. It looks amazing. The only thing I can say I definitively don't like is the English voices are terrible. They're It's because they're how do you say it? Like, they're overdone. Where like the little girl has to sound like a little girl, and she has to be whiny and complain and all, like, and it's too much. Given a choice when I play that game, if I get Japanese, I'm playing it Japanese. But the combat's fun. Like, just kind of exploring was fun. There's exploration elements to it where you can like go up on top of stuff and find other things. And
how long is the demo?
It's pretty decent. You get to play for like an hour or so, and it just kind of drops in the middle.
So it's further in.
It's probably, just guessing, it's probably like 5 to 6 hours into the game or so.
Okay.
But you get weapons for the game if you play the demo.
That's cool. Okay. So, I'll try the demo.
You should. It's really fun. Like, you like Ys. It reminds me like that. And like just said, Tales for sure. I
have both Ys 10 and that PSP remaster reserved now. So ready.
I was kind of on the fence about getting Visions of Mana, but now I feel like I might pick it up sooner rather than later. It depends on where I am with all this other shit I'm playing.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. The other major thing is like my friends and I are now on the Dead Island Riptide. That game sucks. Like, it's probably somehow worse than regular Dead Island. It kind of is. Like, it honestly kind of is, because they've changed. If you never played it, it's a lot of like water. So like they want you to use boats, and you have to use these little boats to get around. But there's little narrow passages, and then there's also like these new zombies that are the drowned zombies, and they can pull you out of the boats, and they're stronger. And it's just, for somehow this game just is worse than the first one. But but the thing is like it's obviously shorter too. Because we're like halfway through, I think, and we've only played a couple.
I think it wasn't really necessarily made as a sequel, but it was more of like a standalone expansion.
It definitely feels like 1.5 as opposed to a 2. Obviously, it is 2 because there is a 2, but it's definitely an expansion you paid for physically. I just the trophies in it suck. Of course they do. There's one that's got like 100 charge kills, which means you have to like sprint at somebody and kill them hidden triangle. Sometimes that move doesn't work.
Awesome.
That move is not strong enough to kill them on their own, so you do have to weaken them and then run away and then run back up and do it.
So it's one of those.
Yeah. You have to get 100 boat kills, which is just run over people with boats. This adds a new bullshit system where you have to tag enemies and then have your partners kill them 100 times.
It's like mark and execute, but you're not doing the execution. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, and somehow the tag system is real bad.
That's terrible.
Just everything about the game. It's a worse version of the first game, which after playing that for as long as we did, just makes this even fucking worse.
Does this mean once this, are you inevitably getting to Dead Island 2?
That's on the list. We have what I like to call the C tier list.
Okay.
So games on the list would be Dead Island 2, which I haven't bought yet because I'm waiting for it to go super. Like it's
been on Game Pass for a while, but I haven't looked at it.
It gets cheap, but we're gonna play the DLC at some point, so I want the gold edition to be cheap.
You want the full version, yeah.
And the cheapest that's gone, I think, is like $35. I want it to be 20. Wow. It'll get to 20.
Yeah.
Because in the middle we've got Dying Light 2, Ghost Recon Wildlands because we did Breakpoint. Strange Brigade is a game, which is a game I've always wanted to play.
Wait, Breakpoint is the one that's after.
Yes, we did that one first.
You played that one.
Yes, because I got a physical copy of that from Best Buy for like the gold edition for $10.
Was that good?
I liked it.
That's the one that has the Punisher dude, right?
No,
that's not the one that has John Bernthal.
No. Oh no, it is. You're right. Yes,
okay,
it is.
Okay.
The other one is the one that has the Sam Fisher content in it and the DLC.
Okay.
So we haven't done that yet, so we want to do that. I liked Breakpoint quite a bit, actually.
Okay.
Like for a Ghost Recon game, it's good.
Once it came out, it's one of those where like it didn't launch well, but the Ubisoft, like for all the shit that people give Ubisoft, like they do tend to stick to the stuff they put out and fix problems.
Yeah.
So
by the time we played it, which was obviously years after it come out, like it was
it's fine.
Perfectly, well-made game. And I'm sure Wildlands will be fine too. It's just on the list. Like Suicide Squad will be on that list if it ever gets down to the magic number.
Sorry.
Well, because the only way I'll play that is with other people, and the only way I'll pay for it is if it's $20 for all of it.
So right now it's at 20, and the season pass is 10.
That's not low enough.
No, I know. I'm saying it'll get there.
I know. It's on my wish list. It's on my wish list.
Already there. We haven't even hit Black Friday.
I know. This holiday it will be 20 for the whole thing, and that's when I do.
Absolutely.
Yep. Gotham Knights is on there, even though it's only 2 people. My buddy and I are going to do that together. I didn't realize. Well, I probably knew at some point, but I didn't realize it's only 2 people. What the fuck is that?
Gotham Knights? I thought it was 3.
It's 2.
It's only 2.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's fucking weird.
That is weird.
But that's on the list. So that's just like we have a list of stuff. So once Dead Island Riptide's done, we're gonna pick whatever's next, and we'll get to Dead Island 2 at some point. But this is like the shitty games we put together. Like Ghostbusters one on that list.
Yeah.
Which Ghostbusters is not a bad game. I still maintain that that's a very fun game if you have people to play with. Wonderlands was on that list. The one-shot adventure thing was on that list.
God.
Yeah, so, some gems. That's why I call it C tier.
It's an appropriate name for
it is. Riptide might be a D, but... and then the last new thing I played, just because I wanted stuff to break up other things and just mess around, is I played a lot of Streets of Rage 4. That game's really fun. I like beat-em-up games a lot. I always have ever since the Super Nintendo days of playing Maximum Carnage and all that stuff. The only thing I don't like about Streets of Rage 4 is the PS5 controller sucks for it. The D-pad is not good enough to move around with, and the analog
Weird.
stick is wrong to move around with. So
Okay.
you kind of have to pick which one of the two movement styles you don't hate as much and do that. But overall, other than that, like the game's incredible. It looks amazing. It plays well.
Yeah, it looks really. I've seen it running.
It's
I just
really
never.
good. Yeah, it's just the movement stuff is kind of makes me wish for an arcade stick, but
There you go.
I'm not doing that. But that's it for me.
What about you, Matt?
Speaking of zombie games, I tackled More Dying Light 2. I'm getting further into the story.
Okay.
I stand behind saying that game was way better than number one.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you. It's a little bit
way better.
It's wildly better.
I will say the only thing I don't like about it is the zombies that come out at night are way harder to deal with than they were in the first game.
Okay.
I think that's my only critique that I ran
they probably
into.
do that on purpose, but
yeah. So essentially, it's like at night you have to be quieter and you have to be more stealthy. And if one of those big ones finds you, you just have to run because there's literally no way of taking. I got jumped by 3 of them because I was trying to go to the spot it was trying to take me to.
Yeah.
And I was like stuck in the middle where it was too far away from a safe zone and too close to where I needed to be. And I was just like, man, I just got to run for it. And like, I just kept running for it and I just kept getting jumped. It was horrible. But yeah, it's the story of it's not bad either. You're starting to like now I'm at the point now where like the guy is discovering things that he thought this person was doing to help him. Turns out this guy is actually a bad guy in the whole story and all that jazz. So it's got its turn of events. I like it. I'm gonna hopefully crack more into it now. That we're done essentially moving everything. So hopefully I can get further into that. Speaking of, Apex Legends has dropped season. I think they're on season 22.
Is this the season that had all the controversy? They had to go back and change stuff?
This was the one where supposedly they redid the Battle Pass because essentially and I'm sorry, but if you are a Battle Pass game, the way it should be is I should earn enough coins or points or whatever it is to allow me to get the next Battle Pass if I finish through the Battle Pass first.
Yeah.
That's just how it should be.
That's like the magic of that, yeah.
Right. And so like for several seasons, I didn't even touch any other money. Like I paid $10 for the first season I started and I made my way through everything. Yeah. And I was able to get through it. But then this season is the one where they fucked up and they were like, they had like 2 different tiers of battle passes.
Okay.
But it didn't matter which one you picked. None of them was going to give you the points you needed to get to the next season's battle pass. Yeah. So they've gone back now and they've said, like, we're wrong or blah, 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 whatever, we fucked up. My bad.
Well, pitched about
stop being greedy. Like, this is it. Just stop being fucking greedy. You're already giving me a game that I've already poured money into. Like,
they're just still going to have plenty of people that buy.
Yeah. I mean, people are going to buy content and like character skins and stuff like that. That's what makes the game so much interesting is like when you get skins that release that are cool that people want. Because nobody plays those Battle Pass games for gun skins. We all know that shit. No. Like, there's no reason. I don't want fucking holographic tint on my gun. I don't care about that enough. But they dropped the new map this season, and my gripe with the new map is I think it's too big for what they have.
How many maps does that game have now for like its main mode?
I think 3.
Okay.
Unless they dropped one out of rotation, which right now I don't know if they have because
trying to push people to the new map.
Well, normally the way they do it is whenever they release a season, if it is something like a new map, they put that new map as the main rotation for like a couple of weeks, and then they rotate it out with like the next set of stuff. I mean, the new map looks cool. I'm not gonna lie, it looks really nice. It's just it seems like it's just way too big, and I mean, the problem you run into is that you're traversing the map to try to find people to kill.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it a long game in the long run. And it's just essentially it's not worth it. I mean, I'll occasionally pick it up and play just because I put so much time into it. I kind of feel like if I need a dull game to play, I'll run it through. But for the most part, it definitely is not the game that I originally started playing, and you can kind of tell. But I mean, even like the community is just some of the community people, like in every community, is hella toxic, and sometimes just makes you not want to play anymore.
Yeah.
So. But and then I jumped in more to Pacific Drive. I've played probably about a good hour and a half into it.
Okay.
I don't know what you're running away from yet.
They haven't told you yet.
They haven't. So the way the game starts off is you're driving this car, and essentially you like drive into another dimension. Your car breaks down, and you like jump into this other dimension or this other area, and you're trying to find a car. So you find an old broke down car,
like a station wagon.
Yeah, it's a station wagon.
Okay.
And you have like voices that are people coming over the radio that are trying to help you get back to where you're supposed to be. Because technically, as a human, you're not supposed to be here, and they're trying to help you get home. There's this, like, right now I'm picking up pieces for an arc.
Okay.
And once I picked up all the pieces for this arc, I finally got to teleport back to the garage where my car gets worked on. And I'm building an antenna to try and essentially get me back to where I need to be.
Okay.
I'm 100% certain these mannequins that I keep seeing are the villain in some way, but I don't know when they're coming alive, or I don't know what's happening with them. So I need to play more of this game.
So you haven't seen like a thing where it's like you turn behind you and the mannequins move? You like turn away? Okay.
Ironically, that's what I thought was going to happen. And I went down this road where there was like 10 of them kind of like plastered all over the road.
I'd be very into that if that's what's going on.
Yeah, it was really creepy. And I was like, okay, let's just drive around them because I'm not trying to fuck with these guys if I don't have to. So I drove like through them, but wide enough around them where I didn't mess with them. And that was the first thing I did, because I was like, what if I drive past them and they all start like chasing my car? And when I did that, though, I turned around and they all just stayed in the same position. So I was like, huh. But then like,
they could be setting you up for something later too.
That's what I'm thinking. And further down the road, like as I was picking up one of these arc pieces, there's like this ball of like parts that's like floating around one of the arc pieces that I went to pick up. It didn't do anything to me. Like at one point I stood under it and nothing happened.
Okay.
But there's some type of significance to whatever this thing is doing.
Interesting.
Hey, so far it's actually a pretty interesting game. I mean, like the car handles really well. It's a crafting survival type game, so you have to like find pieces to craft, impact hammers, scrapers, pry bars, stuff like that to get where you need to be or to get what you're trying to look for.
Yeah.
All in all, I mean, it's interesting. I still don't really know what's happening, but I'm intrigued to the point now where like I was playing it and my wife was watching me and she was like, "What is this game?" And I was like, "It's called Pacific Drive." And she was like, "It looks really cool." And she saw the mannequins too, and she was like, "Oh, that's creepy."
Thinking the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, that is a little creepy too." So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm definitely going to dive more into it and see if I can figure out what's going on with it, because like I said, it's not bad. It doesn't seem like it's heavy in anything either, as far as like...
Yeah, it's on sale again right now on Steam. So I just
What's it at now?
It's at $20.
That's not bad.
So I think it's been a little bit lower than that. I will say, and this maybe will be a preview for the next time we record. Dan, you've heard I said something about this game to you the other day, but once my refund drops here in Steam, which should shortly, I'm gonna pick up this game. discovered out of the blue. I never heard of this game until the other day. Is called This Bed We Made.
Yeah, you sent me the thing.
And it is, you are a hotel maid in the 1950s, and you get wrapped up in a murder mystery at this hotel. It looks crazy. So I never heard of it. Apparently it came out last fall, and I just completely flew under the radar. I never heard of it.
Oh yeah, there's a demo for it.
It looks really cool. I hit mute on accident. That's me. I hit mute on accident.
I was going to say, you were gone.
Yeah, that's me. But yeah, the game looks really, really cool. So I will.
It looks pretty good, actually.
Look at that and be talking about that next time I record. But it is. I will point out it is on sale on everything right now for like $16. So on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. So.
Interesting.
I will say, if I wasn't already looking at that, I probably would just bite the bullet on Pacific Drive because the game really intrigues me. I just haven't. I meant to get it when the Steam sale was going on because it was a little bit cheaper, and I just forgot. So,
and that's the only reason I bought it. Like, I think I saw it, and it was like $10 when I got it.
Okay.
And I was like, it looks interesting, so I went in and snagged it. And I mean, I haven't refunded it yet, so that's a positive.
Well, it hasn't crashed on you either, so
I don't know. It hasn't crashed on me either, so I can definitely say that's a positive too.
there you go.
But yeah, that's it. That's all I've tackled.
That's all it is for you.
Yeah,
that's good. We can roll over into the news. I put this at the top because this is my most. Yeah, I'm super excited. Dan, you'll be excited too.
I am.
Remedy has announced Control 2 is in production readiness stage. They actually have a completely fully playable build of that game.
That's cool.
Ooh.
So, and also the Max Payne remake is in full production.
Remake of 1, right?
It's just right now. My assumption is it's just 1.
Okay.
So, but obviously, if they're going to do 1, they'll do the second one.
Yeah,
you have to remember they didn't do 3. That was Rockstar. So.
Right. I don't think 3 would be a game that would get remade anyway.
I don't think 3 needs to be remade.
Probably not.
I just replayed it not that long ago, and it still holds up.
Right, and it did come out a while ago, but I just don't feel like it needs a remake like the 1 and 2 do.
1 and 2, for sure, yeah. 2, the thing that's crazy when you go back and look at 1 and 2, like, even though they were only like 2, maybe 3 years apart, the jump between 1 and 2 was insane compared to like the other stuff. So, but I'm excited about this because Control. That's what I'm waiting for.
Do you think we could get them to buy Dead to Rights and remake the Dead to Rights franchise as well?
Maybe.
That'd be nice.
Who did that? Was that like
Namco?
THQ?
I think.
Oh, you're right. I think it was Bandai Namco. I think the last one was a 360 game because I remember
Reckoning.
1,000 in that. Yeah, Reckoning.
Yes. I remember those games being kind of fun. Remember when they were showing it off? They're like, check this shit out. You can pick up this extinguisher and throw it and shoot it in midair.
It was. I want to say that came out roughly around the same time as that. Why can't I think of it? It's one of your favorite, Stranglehold.
Yeah, just all those games are
around the same time.
All those games are just linked in my head.
Yeah,
like they're just
like that little era of like we made a bunch of those bullet time,
yeah, kind of stuff.
Yeah, beloved John Woo movie.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited for Control 2, especially after playing Alan Wake. I know you're going to play Alan Wake when the physical copy comes out.
Yes, I have it reserved.
Which is I think in October. So, and that's definitely worth it. I still haven't played that DLC. Every time I turn on my Xbox, I'm reminded it's installed. And it's almost 100 gigs, so I'd like to play that and be done.
Also, Reckoning was the PSP one. Retribution was the 360 one.
Okay, yes. That makes
yeah,
sense.
I remember. It's like, there's a PSP one too. Turns out that was a prequel. It's fucking weird.
That's weird.
Oh wait, prequel to Dead to Rights 2, which was a prequel to the first game. So that's awesome. Game was on Game Boy Advance. Remember that?
With that, I wonder if that's good or bad. That could be good or bad, though. Like I mean, I didn't play them at the time.
You never know.
I could feel like that could work.
Some Game Boy Advance games work.
The thing I always think of is like you would think on paper Tony Hawk would never work, and those were really good.
One of my favorite versions of that game. Yeah.
So that's why I would say that would probably work. But Next story we actually have an email, so I'm going to read that first. This comes to us from Brad from Des Moines, Iowa. Howdy, guys. I'm curious what you all think about the latest round of layoffs at Bungie. Really seems like Sony should have never purchased them as a studio. I mean, let's be real for a moment. What has Bungie put out under Sony's leadership? They helped get that Last of Us multiplayer game canceled, and up until the reports of the layoffs, we haven't heard anything about the Marathon remake, now just being confirmed to still be in development. Is this studio purchase just a huge blunder for Sony, or is there any way they can turn this around? So they laid off I think 200 people. I think it was roughly around there.
Yeah.
They're down. I want to say they're down to 750.
It was 15% of people.
And then they're going to take another 150 and move them into some sort of new internal
They're spinning
Sony
people
studio.
off into something else.
But then the other more damning thing that has come out, I don't know if you saw this, because this was earlier this week, this was all over the internet, is that the current CEO of Bungie, Pete Parsons, has, since the acquisition, has spent millions of dollars on just buying classic cars.
He invited one of the guys to come look at his cars.
He invited someone
like the
that was
community
fired
manager
2 days later. Yeah. Because she tweeted about it on Twitter. It was this motherfucker 2 days before I was fired invited me to come look at his classic car collection. Just
crazy.
Ridiculous.
The whole thing. Well, there's that. There's also this thing about how there's a way that Sony can essentially. I mean, they're doing it already, but remember the whole deal with Bungie was we'll sell to you, but we want to be autonomous. We want to do our own stuff.
Yeah, because Marathon is multi-platform
for now. But the whole point was they wanted to remain independent, sort of, and be able to kind of do what they want. But now apparently Sony, there's something, I don't know if this is technically something that's in the kind, who the hell knows, but where they can essentially just roll them into Sony and say, "Fuck it, you're done," kind of a thing, and we're taking over.
I feel like
it feels like that's what's happening.
But there are bigger people like Luke Smith is no longer at Bungie.
Yeah.
There are higher up people that are gone.
The company, to be real, the company, it just seems doomed at this point.
It's not the Bungie, remember?
Well, they had lackluster Destiny expansions, although by all accounts, the newest one is supposed to be pretty good.
I hear the last one, and especially this final shape, are really good.
Right. But I think part of the problem with this is, remember, they made Destiny, and the Destiny 2 was pretty soon after Destiny 1. And then it's been nothing but Destiny 2 for the whole time.
What's funny now I think about it is we might actually hit the 10-year plan with Destiny 2 instead of Destiny 1.
Yeah.
That's crazy because that was the promise with Destiny 1. Oh, it's going to be 10 years.
Right. Which we always assumed at the time, that would be 3 video games.
Yeah.
Every 3 years you'd get the next one and they would all kind of work into each other. Now it just feels like Destiny 2 is going to do it.
Is the 10-year plan.
Because by all accounts, they had some spin-off game that's gone. Destiny 3 is probably whatever's next. But who knows what that is or when that is anymore.
Yeah, that's the problem. So, and when I say Marathon is multi-platform, I think what they mean by that is PC.
Now it means PC. I mean, it was confirmed for Xbox when they showed it, but
I don't think
so anymore. They got to do what they can now with the Activision shit and all that other crap.
They do,
but
for sure.
I don't know, Bungie. It seems like it's in a terrible, terrible place, and I don't know what it's going to take to pull it out of it.
I don't either. And then the other thing I threw in here because it's it seems like maybe and we said this back when they announced it, but having co-CEOs is a terrible fucking idea for Sony. But it seems like Herman Hulst might be taking some control over Bungie as well.
That's part of what it is. It's that's how they're going to roll it in. Is he's going to step in and say, "I'm in charge now."
Do you think it's kind of thing where in 2 years, like you were saying, that's at the point where they're like, this is just Sony now.
Yeah. Bungie or Sony Studio or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
can see it.
The only other thing I will say is we've talked about that Last of Us multiplayer thing getting canceled before. Apparently by other reports, that thing was fucked anyway.
Bad.
Yeah. It was just not, they had to come in and say it was bad because it was bad. So I don't necessarily dump that on them as much as maybe we did in the past. But
and see, that's the thing is I don't think whatever they were making was the factions multiplayer that we played. With the first Last.
And that sucks because that was good.
That was good.
Yeah.
So
Maybe if you had figured out a way to put a story into that, or maybe make it PvE as well, they could. That's really all it really needed to add to it.
Imagine a Last of Us multiplayer that's kind of like State of Decay.
Yeah,
that's what they could do.
That'd be a fun game. People would kill for that game.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the whole Bungie situation, it's just sad to me. I look at it and go, what it was and what it's become.
It's a side effect of Sony really trying to jump into this games as a service. We need a games as a service.
It is.
Because we know that there's money in it. Destiny 1 was an incredible game. I don't blame them for saying we should just buy Destiny 2 and run it. But they got obsessed with this stuff, and it's backfiring constantly, and it's about to backfire again in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
when Concord hits.
I was gonna say the next time we record will be after Concord has launched, so we'll be able to hear about.
Still, like, just to go off on that game a little bit more, it's still crazy to me how they're still check out all these character vignettes and all that stuff. It's like, who cares? Nothing good is coming out of this.
The views on those videos, but I can't imagine they're very high.
Nothing good is coming out of all of this marketing, and it just seems like, why are we spending so much money on marketing this game?
And again, like, if nobody is already interested in that game, just from what we've learned from the 2 betas they've had 2 betas, which is ridiculous, then why continue to push? I mean, they probably have these cutscenes.
Oh, they're all already done. They've been done for a while.
I have to imagine that, like, when those are done, this game comes out and it flops, because it will. That's it. They're not going to keep making these cutscenes and putting the money into it.
I can't imagine where the money's coming from to make it. Because we talked about it too, where this is a game that's going to lose out to Marvel Rivals. Even if Marvel Rivals is a worse game, it's going to lose because it's got Venom in it. Ooh.
Here's my next question: how long until we see this game show up on PS Plus?
Concord
is one of the monthly games. February, March,
6 months.
6 months. That's what I think too, because they'll look at the sales. And I'm sure for the people that do buy it, I'm sure they'll do some sort of thing. Because people that buy it will be upset. And they're going to throw a fit about, like, I can't believe I bought this and now it's on PlayStation Plus. So, like, I'm sure they'll throw those people a bone.
Oh, if I paid money for that and then you just gave it away?
6 months later, it's like, they'll be pissed as fuck. And I don't blame them. So, but I feel like I could see that in 6 months totally being like, hey, here it is. It's on PlayStation Plus. Just as like an attempt to get people
boost numbers.
So, and I feel like that is what we call the last attempt to boost numbers before Sony just goes, this one didn't work out.
It'll probably make it a year, I would guess.
Because again, the executives at Sony, because they're all on this live service push, they totally look at this game and think that the same exact thing is going to happen that happened earlier this year with Helldivers. And it's not going to happen.
No.
So, but
what they should be looking at is stuff like Foam Stars and that
should look at the other failures.
What was that Destruction game?
Oh, Destruction Derby.
Yeah, All Stars or whatever. Yeah, they should be looking at those games and being like, look, it was terrible. A lot of this shit didn't catch on. Even stuff they didn't make, like that Knockout City game, the wrestling one that was canned before it even came out, Rumbleverse or something. Didn't that die immediately? Like,
that was fun.
Yeah, but the thing is like, it's dead. It died immediately. Didn't it? When Rumbleverse, did it make it a year, or was it only a couple months? I thought
it was only a couple months.
I think it was like 6 months.
Knockout City made it like a year, and then that died.
Yeah,
but for every 20 of these games that comes out, because there's a lot of them, 2 hit, and Concord just doesn't. And I think the biggest problem with Concord is they set themselves up to fail by that fucking first cinematic.
They did. They totally did.
They should have told you what it was before they showed it.
And then when they showed
it and ruined it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I miss Bungie. I wish we've talked about it before. I would like for a Destiny 3 to come out because I would like to get in at the start again.
That's where I'm at with it too, because Destiny at this point is much like I said, No Man's Sky. I love that they're still doing content for it. I appreciate everything they're doing. I couldn't get into it anymore. It is so far beyond what I was playing.
And No Man's Sky did it again, man.
I did. I loaded up.
I want to go back.
I was like, I want to go back into it, and I loaded it. It's so overblown with what's going on. I'm like, I can't even grasp my mind around what's happening.
But it's funny because for them, that's awesome.
It is.
For other games where it's like they just keep throwing shit at the wall.
It gives me hope for whatever that other game that they're making right now is. That still seems like a proof of concept type of thing, but so did No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky apparently was for like 5 years.
Yeah, so but yeah, we'll see. But the Bungie stuff, it's incredibly sad. So I put this in because I just think it's absurd. Like, Playground Games has opened a third support studio for Fable. Another support studio for that game. Like,
that's not good news.
Well, let's just
it's
stop.
not good news. When I saw that, I said, "Oh, so is that maybe 2026 now?" Then, like,
that's because they still never said anything date wise for that, right?
They said 2025.
Oh, they did. They did. Right.
They were very heavy to hammer that home. So, like, maybe opening a third studio is to address that, but I don't know.
That could still be fall of 25. Maybe
it could be. So, but that gives us to our next very dumb thing here, which we also got an email on. So I'm going to read that first, and then we'll jump into this. This was the other, just we'll say tone deaf. Okay. Andrew from Jamestown, North Dakota. Hi, 572. Is it just me, or is Microsoft once again fucked up with this very lame appeal to the gamers in their terms attempt to try and pull with the announcement that Avowed would see a slight delay till February of 2025? It just comes off leaving me yet another bad taste in my mouth. To give you more time for your backlog, are you serious? This company can't even get games out, but they expect Xbox users to have a backlog. It just came off as a joke. At least they have the dignity to say that they need more time. And that's what I agree with. Like, if they would have just came out and said, because again, we haven't had a concrete date for this game.
Mm-hmm.
So if they would have just came out and they've been like, okay, you know what, guys, we're sorry. They need a couple more months. Here's the date. And they actually gave it a full date. It's February 18th. So it has a concrete date.
No, it doesn't. That means nothing.
No, I know, but like, it hasn't actually, it's not just February, but I mean, again, could that get delayed till May? Maybe.
It's just more lies.
But again, to come out and do the whole, we're on your side, we're gamers like you, and we know you have this big backlog when your one game that came out this year that is exclusive to your platform is 6 hours long. So to put that out and then expect
this is one of the dumbest things they've ever said
for people that are only have the Xbox, because again, people have PlayStation stuff. They everybody has a backlog of shit. Sure, but to use that as your excuse and not just come out and say we need more time. Again, people would have bitched, but it would have been accepted more of like, all right, this sucks and I don't like it, but I understand.
It's just to use the phrase "your backlog" is so fucking stupid. What they should have done, what they probably meant, and what they should have said was, play more shit on Game Pass. Use Game Pass to play more games. That's what the spin should have been.
Yeah.
But to imply that I've got all these great Xbox games, I don't have the time to play by the time Avowed comes out in a couple months. Well, now we're going to give you 4 more months. You can play all these fantastic, unbelievable Xbox games. Like, fuck off.
When you and I both know that, like, on the other side of this, Indiana Jones is probably going to be delayed until early next year.
It's super fucked now.
So if those two games do get delayed, we're looking at another sad fall for the Xbox.
Oh, wow. Another year in a row. This is what we said the last time we talked about all this stuff. Like
3 years in a row.
After the conference where they finally were like, boom, 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 perfect art, boom. They showed everything. And it's like, shit, we have all of it. Fable, all of it's here. But we said that what did we say back then? Okay, fine. You have to fucking release something.
You have to do it to this.
And they still can't do it.
No.
They still it seems like it's fucking impossible at this company to get anything right ever. And it's every single time.
I've said it before and I continue to say it. I think having one person in charge, which is that Matt Booty guy, be the person that is in charge of however many, they're like 25 teams now.
It's too much.
How many acquisition is too much for one person, which means what deadlines are there going to be that this dude is following up on all the time when you have that many studios to handle? They should have more people involved.
Well, and
checking on this.
Well, the other thing too is like you go back in time to what mid 2000s, right? When games where it was basically like you have to put this out in November or everybody's fucked. So you got a game no matter if it was done or not. And eventually it got to a point where everybody was tired of that. We didn't want that anymore. And we all kind of agreed as like a community, like a game playing community, that it's like we'd rather just have a finished game.
Yeah.
Like just take the time and make the game and put it out and we'll play it then. And then game companies finally started to realize it's okay. It's okay if a AAA title takes 4 years for a sequel or something, like Spider-Man or Uncharted game. And like it's okay if it takes time. But now we're at a point where it's 10 years, 12 years. Like, well, we got to push something back. Well, it's got a new studio. Holy shit, dude. Like,
yeah.
It's flipped so hard the other way that it makes me less interested. I don't have an Xbox yet. Thank God I don't have an Xbox yet. Thank God I didn't want to buy one for a bet. Like Indiana Jones is the first game that might make me want to do it. Now I think it feels like I have a year before I even have to worry about that.
I feel like that's right.
It's crazy.
I feel like that's correct.
And also like we did these 4 Xbox games on PlayStation, and by all accounts they all did really well. Mm-hmm. Where's the next batch of that?
It's surprising, right?
They haven't said anything about any of them.
No.
Nothing. Like you can't tell me that you couldn't. What's a game that could easily get moved over that they don't give a shit about anymore?
I was gonna say State of Decay 2.
Boom, perfect. You you have 3 coming out. Let the people on PlayStation play 2. Did Hellblade 1 come out on PlayStation? It did, right?
It did.
Okay.
It did.
Yeah.
But like, there's
Hellblade 2 seems like it's primed to come to PlayStation.
Just say it comes out in December. Nobody gives a shit anymore. But like, I hate ranting about this because it's like I want to like Xbox. I really do.
They make it. Really
I have since the first one. When I played it at Game Crazy and went, damn, this system's pretty good. I need to get one. They make it almost fucking impossible now to believe a single word any of them say about anything.
Yeah, that's sad.
Sony, at least I get this shit, whether or not I like the people that run that company, which I don't. Most of this shit just comes out. It's here.
It does. Like I said, in the last year, I've played more on my PC than anything else.
Yeah,
which is crazy because that's never that's never been the way for me since I was in high school. So,
there was a
wildly different time.
There was a long period of time where you could argue from like the PS2 days till the end of the 360 era, PC gaming was low.
Yeah.
It wasn't
like it is now.
No, because at that time, Steam came out, but Steam didn't really pick up to where it is now until like 2010, 2011. I was
gonna say, like early teens.
Where it was like really wildly acceptable. Right. When Steam first came out, people fucking hated that shit.
And it was like we all played computer games up until around the PS2 era. And then it just became easier to buy a console. And they made games for consoles. And it was just easier to get a hold of an Xbox and GameCube and all this stuff.
And it took a while for PC gaming to catch up to that point. See, because, I mean, I think about when I graduated high school and people, at that time, you didn't hear people at that point building their own PCs.
No, and it was a lot of
maybe the beginning of it.
It wasn't as common because it wasn't as common to actually be able to buy the parts separately.
It wasn't until about 5 or 6 years later, 2010, 2011, where it was like, okay, that's a common thing now.
Right.
I should probably do that, and then I did.
And even then, it was like, well, you're buying a computer and you're putting your own video card in. Like you would buy a pre-built machine. Yeah, because it is.
The first computer that I bought was from Dell.
Yeah,
with my own money, myself was a desktop from Dell, and I used that from 2007 until about 2012.
I had an E-machine that I upgraded as much as possible, and that's where I first played Final Fantasy VII.
There you go.
But then that's another story. But then eventually that game stopped working on disc 3, so I finally had to just say fuck it, and I went and I bought a PS1 copy. But
there you go.
But it's just. I want so badly to like Microsoft. I would like to own an Xbox. I have zero reason to own an Xbox.
And the thing that kills me the most about it is the Series X is a very well made machine. It is exactly what the last system should have been.
Right.
It works perfectly when you turn it on. It doesn't have any issues with the UI like the last system did.
But what's the selling point of it?
Exactly. And that's the problem. For me, the selling point of it is I have a massive Xbox digital library.
Sure.
And it's also the system that my girlfriend plays, and I only have to buy one digital copy of a game. We both play it.
Sure.
So it works for me.
There are selling points for you, but the average consumer,
average person, probably should buy a PlayStation.
Not only is the naming convention mixed up, but and we still agree that even though Game Pass is up in price, blah blah, it's still an incredible value. Like I'm not.
It is still, yeah.
And it's only gonna get better. They just put all the Crash shit on there. Like it's only gonna get better in terms of value, but they don't even market that well enough. If that's the point, you can't tell me that you couldn't just make like an Xbox that's $200 that plays Game Pass shit, or $150 and it streams. They're like, I know that they're working towards that stuff, but why is that still not here either?
I think that's what the next thing is going to be.
Sure, that's fine. But we're talking. They've done advertisements for playing Starfield on a fucking smart TV. Why isn't this a thing? Like, it's just not a thing.
They also just did that thing where they unlocked the ability to do that on 3 different versions of the Amazon Fire Stick?
On the newer versions of Fire Stick.
Yeah.
Why don't they talk about that as much?
They don't seem like they talk about that nearly as much. I mean, they literally have on Amazon, you can buy a bundle with a controller.
Sure.
And a Fire Stick.
You get that and a Game Pass subscription, and boom, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
But it almost seems like, what do they market? I don't even understand anymore. They don't market a console.
No.
They don't market. They talk about Game Pass. They don't market it.
They're still in this era, and they've been stuck in this, I think, for the last year and a half of just brand identity issues. Where they just don't know what they want to actually do.
But then they come out at, not E3 and go, check out all these fucking games. Look at all these games.
Yeah, we still care about this system, and we still care about, but they don't.
You really don't
talk about it.
You really don't at all. And
they're going to do the same thing in 2 weeks when they're at Gamescom.
Right. You don't show me anything, ever.
Which, for whatever reason, they're saying they're going to have a bigger presence at Gamescom than they've ever had.
To show what?
Exactly. That's why I'm super curious to see what are you going to show? Is this where you're going to announce Indiana Jones is delayed?
No, they'll let it get closer.
I think you get to October.
Yeah, and then they go,
random day in
God,
October.
You know what, guys? July sounds a lot better for Indiana Jones. And that's when I finally just tell them, go fuck yourselves.
They go, you know what, guys? Indiana Jones got stuck in this tomb, and he's not going to be able to get out of it for 3 months. It'll be some dumb comment like that, right?
It'll give you some time to chase the snakes away. You know what we're saying?
I feel like
fuck off.
They gave that announcement to some intern because it was on a Friday. And because it wasn't today, it was the previous Friday when they did that. And I feel like they gave it to the intern, like, come up with something clever, and that's what this fucking dude did.
What if it was AI and they were just like,
or that? Yeah.
Hey Google, write me a funny story about how we have to delay Avowed.
Yeah.
Or sorry. Hey Bing, write me a funny story about how. And that's why it sucks, is because it's Bing.
And they high-fived and said, "We're out for the day."
Like who? Yep. I can't imagine. Like somebody had to write this. And then someone had to approve.
Someone had to sign off on it.
I guarantee multiple people had to say, "Yeah, go for it."
Exactly.
This is great. It's funny. Like they all laughed. Their laughs.
The amount of
went out and got in their fucking $200,000 sports cars and drove off, peeling out.
Exactly. Because again, it was literally done on like a Friday afternoon. You know, it was the last thing of the day. Like, here you go. We're out for the weekend.
And here's the other thing about all this too. This is a Game Pass thing too. It's like, Avowed is a game. How many people are going to buy it?
Actually purchase it? PC people.
Right.
That only want to play it on Steam.
Right. So on Xbox, it's all just Game Pass numbers anyway. And now we're just pushing. But how many people are signing up for Game Pass for Avowed?
Everyone.
Game Pass isn't going to... Avowed isn't going to push the needle for Game Pass people. That's why they bought Call of Duty.
That's what Call of Duty's going to do.
Activision, but Call of Duty's what they were buying.
Right.
That
for sure.
Stuff. Let's be real.
Well, there's that. But this whole thing just gets more frustrating every time they take a step up. Every time we're like, man, they finally did. They're finally back. But fucked it again. Because Perfect Dark is already, 26, we're guessing, right? Maybe next year.
Maybe 26. There's a world in which maybe they could shove that out at the end of next year, but I don't think so.
So let's say that is the world that does happen, where it is supposed to be the end of next year. That's already 26. I could already delay it for you right now if you want me to. Because it's going to get delayed. Every single game gets delayed.
if that game were somehow to come out at the end of next year, it's going to be another Halo Infinite disaster.
It'll be wrong.
It won't be ready.
Right.
Halo Infinite. I was talking to one of our buddies today about Halo Infinite. I told him today, you go and play Halo Infinite. Great game.
Well,
Plays great. After all the updates, it has co-op. It has like a plethora of multiplayer options. You can play Firefight. Like they brought that back, which they haven't done for a while with other 343 Halos. They tried to do that Warzone thing in 5. That was okay. But again, now if they would have delayed that game another year, it would have launched perfectly fine.
hey, guess what? Starfield, same thing.
Yeah, Starfield's
Another game
example.
they fucked up. Delayed it forever. Oops, it's still not good. A year later,
it took them 7 months to put out that 60 frame patch.
To put in a map.
That's wild.
And to put in a real
Put in
map.
a fucking map. It took 7 months.
And even then, I went back and I spent another 60, 70 hours with the game, and I had a great time.
Right.
But
all they did by delaying it, and putting it out broken was ruin it. Redfall, delayed. That game's trash. It's
Garbage.
so bad we have to refund DLC packages. Fuck, dude.
Well,
what is going on? People at this company sign off on this constantly. It's like no one there has ever released a video game before or sees what happens when other companies fuck up. Oh wait, it's because Microsoft is the company that fucks up.
Constantly.
All the time.
Imagine not that this system would even exist without it, but imagine a world where they don't have Windows. They don't make money from Windows.
I don't think it's a company anymore.
How dead is this company? How fast is it dead? Months? Weeks? They call up everybody tomorrow and line them up outside and they start loading shells into a shotgun. Click, click.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That is where they make all their money.
If they didn't have stuff to fall back on, it would be a faint memory.
It would. It's because I had somebody brought it up to me recently too of what if this is sometimes it feels like maybe this is the last generation of Xbox, and we joke about oh, it couldn't possibly happen, but maybe at one point the guy above Phil Spencer just says pull the plug.
What are we doing? Yeah, he just says what are we doing?
Let's just invest all this in Windows.
You guys had maybe in 3 years they look at it and they go, okay, the system's been out for this long and you released 10 games, but we have 20 fucking studios. How'd you release 10 games?
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
You let our biggest franchises all die. All of their big franchises are dead.
I think they fully believe that Fable is going to come out let's say it does come out next year. It comes out in 2025 and it's going to once again just retake its spot as a pillar franchise.
No.
And it's but even if the game's good, is it going to be the game people remember from 20 years ago?
It would have to
be.
It would have to be. It can't be good. It has to be great.
Exactly.
It has to be a 9. It can't be a 7. 7s are death.
And that's how many of these games come out for Microsoft and you're all hyped for it and it's a 7?
Right.
Yeah.
Starfield.
If Fable comes out and it's a 7, franchise is over. If Gears comes out and it's a 7, sorry guys, we're not making another Gears. We might remake the first one. That's a different thing than making a new one. But if the new one comes out and it's a 7, we should probably put that on hiatus too. Avowed comes out and it's a 7, or God forbid a lower number. Shit, dude, we might as well just close this studio.
I was going to throw out there Indiana Jones. What if that comes out and that's a 7?
7? That's a thing I feel like maybe could get away with it. But it also can't because it's made by the Wolfenstein guys.
Exactly.
So
that's the thing. It's that game comes out and it's a 7, but everything that those people have put out before are for all intents and purposes, 9s and 10s. 8s, 9s, and 10s.
Then that game's problem is we have a baseline for what it should be.
Yeah.
And if it comes out as a 7, or God forbid lower. Imagine Indiana Jones comes out and it averages 5.5. Dead. You'll never see another Indiana Jones game for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because the movie franchise is over. The only thing that's left is this.
You're only riding on something like Indiana Jones off of pure nostalgia now.
Right. For people our age.
And if that game comes out and it's anything lower than an 8, like average,
It's over.
It's a disaster.
And then your next thing you gotta wait for is Elder Scrolls 6 in 2031 or whenever the fuck that actually comes out.
Whenever Todd says I'm retiring,
God, that'll
so
be the last thing he makes.
That is his last game. I don't think he sticks around.
He could crank. I feel like he could crank out a Fallout in between, just because Fallout games don't have to be that much different from each other.
They don't.
But Oblivion and Skyrim are very different. Morrowind is very different. Like, those games have to make a leap. Fallout doesn't anymore.
The other thing that kills me when it comes to Fallout is like, all right, you have this massively successful TV show, probably one of the most successful, if not the most successful new TV show of this year. Why wouldn't you at Microsoft go, okay, obviously Todd Howard, they're busy, they're making Elder Scrolls, they're doing Starfield stuff. We have an own Obsidian. They made New Vegas. Let them make it. Doesn't have to be New Vegas 2.
No.
But they could make a new Fallout.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a numbered Fallout because I could see Bethesda not being happy about that. But let's say they make another like Fallout, whatever the location may be.
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
Why wouldn't you push for that when the hype is this high
because
for that
they
franchise?
Don't consider that stuff when they do this stuff anymore.
That's the part that's ridiculous to me. Is like they're leaving money on the floor as a company by not going, okay, what is it? What are they doing once? Because isn't Avowed? Avowed is Obsidian, right?
Yeah.
Obsidian, they did Outer.
That's why it
Outer
feels
World.
like New Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so like that's when it's like, okay, they're getting ready to be done shipping like Avowed in February. Let's say it hits in February. What's their next project other than Outer Worlds 2? They clearly have two teams. Yeah. They have a team that's working
Outer Worlds 2 is in development, yes.
Yeah, so like what's this Avowed team going to do? Put them on a fucking Fallout game. Like give them a deadline. Give them like 3 years. They already have the engine. They already have every tool they need. And if they really need any extra help, you also own Bethesda,
right?
Like right over here, and they wouldn't be upset with helping out on a Fallout project. So
for sure,
it just seems ridiculous to me for a company that owns so many studios, and then for something like this TV show to come out and catch fire the way it did. Like I knew when it came out, like it'll be popular. I did not expect it to hit the way it did. Where it is like everybody, I got people that don't even know what Fallout is.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing about it that kicked off. Like, as someone who loves Fallout, I love that show to death. It's incredible.
It's great.
But people who don't play Fallout love that show.
My girlfriend knows jack shit about Fallout. And now she loves the ghoul character. It's like her favorite thing. She's looking, like we've talked about, she's painted a mural of Master Chief in one of our rooms. She's painted a mural in the guest room of Jack Marston and the ghoul sitting at a bar in like a Western theme, because it's a Western theme because we got a painting that we're going to be hanging up in that room that is a Western thing. So she had to come up with some idea. But like that's the thing, like the ghoul, like this is something that she's never played any Fallout games. She didn't know anything. And the entire time we watched the show, she would ask me questions about it. I'm like, I don't know. Like some of it is from the game. Some of it they kind of just went with, but it makes sense in that universe.
Right.
So, but that's the point. It's like that show captured people that know nothing about Fallout. Now it's a massive success. Now you have people like, hey, I don't know anything about Fallout. I'd like to play some of these games. Look at Fallout 4. Look how it blew up on all the storefronts.
It immediately jumped back into like the most played games on PlayStation at the time. Like they don't anticipate trends. They don't see trends. They think they make the trends. That is a problem. It is crazy to see. Like the 360 was an incredible high point of gaming, and you cannot deny
Microsoft's highest point.
You cannot deny that. Even if you're a PlayStation person, you cannot deny that the 360 was a far superior console to the PS3. For at least, you can maybe argue at the last year or two they were the same, but for the first 5 or 6 years, it wasn't close.
Yeah,
I'd argue about 2011 is where the PS3 became a more viable. Like, okay, there's
actually a system you could buy. Yeah,
yeah. It wasn't for me. I got one in 2009 because I needed a Blu-ray player.
Right, that's why I bought mine too.
That's why I bought mine. And at that point, they had a better version of it, with the Slim and everything.
Right.
And then I started to play some of those games came out. And again, like they did have really good exclusives that came out. The Uncharted series, Last of Us. Like you can go down the list of stuff, but in terms of like multi-platform, a lot of those games that came out for the PS3 were a disaster.
It's just so crazy to like think about they built the Xbox and they did enough to hang around, right? They capitalized on everything with the 360. And then when that era ended,
one guy,
Don Matrick, fucking killed that company. He committed suicide on stage.
Literally.
And just murdered everyone else in the room because he had no clue what he was doing, and decided, let's make something that is anti-consumer real quick and just see how it goes. And oops, we had to backtrack within 24 hours.
Still, like when we were still at GameStop, even towards the end, you would still have people come trickling in that would say, "Oh, I don't want an Xbox because I can't play online."
Yeah. They still thought it because of something one guy said at the reveal.
Yeah,
like it's just crazy how much they've tanked, and they've never gotten it back.
They've never been able to recover fully from it.
Connect, like dumping all these resources into something nobody cares about. Like it's just And the thing is, like Sony did it too, and they should have let Sony be the ones who fucked up.
You know what's funny?
Right.
I saw it actually came out recently now. Like, we always suspected it, but it did actually come out recently that they did have that slide in their PlayStation press conference thing, that they were going to do the same, like, check-in stuff and all that. And they, because of the ability to go later that day, they made the smart decision of, hey, we're going to throw this out, and we're going to get this team to work on fixing that, removing that from this.
You can tell because remember the presentation, they did that dumbass little video where they were like, here's how you borrow games from a friend. Yeah. You cannot tell me that was not shot that fucking day. There's like, no way.
Like, we got to fucking do this real quick.
The only reason that video would have existed is if they had known that Xbox was going to pull that. And there's no way that they knew that for certain before it happened. I'm sure it was a thing in Xbox. Everybody knew it. I'm sure people on PlayStation did know it. But you can't be 100% sure that that's what they're going to say. So they went and they shot this little video in whatever hotel they're in and put it in. Because remember, it was jokey. It was really silly.
It was really quick.
And it wouldn't have been so silly had they not been immediately reacting to what Xbox had just done. And it's
brilliant. It's a brilliant move.
It was. And that's what all of this stuff is like Microsoft going first fucking killed them.
They killed them on that.
And they wanted to get the jump out. Check out our system.
Remember how long it took? Like a month, I want to say, until they came out and finally said, hey, we're getting away from that.
Well, within like the first 24 hours, they had to come out and like clarify. Well, no, that's not what it means. And then a week later, they'd be like, well, he said something wrong, and it actually is this. And then a month later, they finally were like, yeah, never mind.
We're not going to do that.
Even though it was too late. You and I talked about it then, and we talk about it now. We're like, it wouldn't have changed much. Like, you're all online anyway. You didn't have to pay for online. You just had to be connected online once every 24 hours.
Too early.
Yes, it was early. But we're also talking about a generation of people who complain on the internet that they have to be on the internet.
Yeah, that's always the good point.
That was the thing we always made to people in the store. It's like, I can't believe I'd have to have my system connected to the internet. It has to do a check once a day. Or do you go on your computer once a day? Yes. Yeah. Then you're done. Like,
it's
come on. Like, let's be realistic.
Not the same, Dan.
No, it's
okay.
It's just it was one of the things that annoyed me the most because it would have made your life easier. It honestly would have improved your life. But you had to say no.
That summer was a nightmare.
It was awful.
from that E3 until those systems launched, it was a nightmare because it was just a lot of like, no, let me explain how this works, and then either the person would listen to you or they wouldn't. So most wouldn't. And then the other thing I hated the most were the kids that would come in and like it would happen all the time, flip flop between one system and the other. How many times do we have people return where you would tell them like, look, man, at some point this is going to be turned off and you're locked in.
Right.
So if you're locked in and you have a PlayStation and all of a sudden you come in and you're like, well, I want to switch to the Xbox, you can't now because the pre-orders are gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So
do you think that was the summer when misinformation was invented?
Maybe.
Yeah. And now it's just a rampant thing. But maybe Xbox was the one that kicked it off.
Maybe. Don Matrick.
Yeah, Don Matrick.
All his fault.
Everything. And how long
ruined it all?
He was when would he leave?
Shortly after, because it was like Phil Spencer took over, and
Did he go
April.
to Zynga or did he come from Zynga? I think he went to Zynga. Yeah.
He went to Zynga. And then Phil Spencer took over in April of 2014. Because remember, the first thing he did within a week of being there was like, you don't need this Connect anymore.
Yeah.
That was literally
Thank
the
God.
first thing. He was just like, we're not doing this
remember
Connect
that
anymore.
forced Connect? Fucked was that?
You know what? I used it for a couple of years to scan QR codes.
Until they stopped printing them on the codes.
And they stopped printing those, yeah. That's what I used it for.
That's what I used it for.
When they redesigned it and put out that slim model where you had to buy that special adapter, that's when I was like, I'm not doing it.
No, I'm done.
Like, fuck this.
I don't want to dance to I'm a Han Solo in Star Wars Connect anymore.
Why not?
I don't think I ever...
It got too good.
Didn't we use it like once or twice for Skype calls? And like, that was fine, but like...
I think we tried it for that. I think we were just kind of messing around to see like what it would do.
But that we didn't do anything else.
Never...
Or, like, the connectivity they used for like Dead Rising and stuff, that like none of it worked.
All the games sucked. Like...
Yeah. Just...
Remember Blackwater?
I was gonna say, but hey man, the ghost hunting, they love that Connect.
No,
ghost hunting people.
Activity.
Yeah, like that shit works great for them. So.
Sure.
So it worked out in the end.
Must be why I had 100 used ones in my store all the time.
Well, speaking of Xbox, I don't know if you saw this hit fire. A developer of Phantom Blade Zero like had done some interview this past week and is under fire because he claimed the comment when they asked why is this game not out on Xbox, because it is not a PlayStation funded exclusive.
Right.
His response was, no one needs an Xbox.
Is he wrong?
And so of course that's the thing, is like, yeah, I can understand why people would be upset about it, but at the same time, like, is he wrong? Like, kind of not really. Like, what is your reason to have
going to be
one
on
right
PC,
now?
right?
As someone who owns two Xbox Series X, why is there a reason? You know,
the game's going to be on PC, right? Like, you don't need an Xbox then.
And yeah, and I would also say like the most recent like Game Pass games I've just played on PC.
Yeah.
So, in an effort of like just dumb, there are a lot of like people saying dumb shit in the last 2 weeks. This one I put in here because I think it's just absolutely hilarious. You know already that I have to play this fall because I'm obligated.
Well, you don't have a choice.
Bloober Team has come out and begged users to give our game a chance after all the backlash of like people didn't like some of the changes, some of the animation. Remember the one like woman character that looked weird as hell?
Right.
And they're just begging people, give our game a chance.
That always goes over well.
When
you got to beg to get people to play your game.
I mean, it's you're remaking like one of the most, if not the most beloved survival horror game outside of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
People like Silent Hill 2 is like up there, right next to like Resident Evil. So, in terms of Silent Hill 2 specifically.
Right.
So, I don't know. I will have it day one, and I will be going hard on that game.
We're talking to a man who played Alone in the Dark. So, I mean, I know that you're in.
I did play Alone in the Dark.
Yes, you did.
It's not good. You know what's funny? I put up that video and it didn't take fire right away, and then maybe a week later it got a ton of views.
I watched it.
All of a sudden, people are like, "Wait a minute!" Start watching it. I'm like, okay. And like you've got a couple comments on where people are like, "Yeah, it's not very good." Like the people that have played it. So
yeah,
it's just unfortunate.
Didn't look good.
And I think that's just gonna sit now at the point where like that franchise is done for another decade until somebody dusts it off and goes, "Let's try again."
It would take probably
One
a lot
more
for them
time
to come back. Yeah,
it will. Lollipop Chainsaw Repop has finally gotten its launch date. It actually moved up. It comes out September 12th. It is at an odd price point of $45.
Yeah, that's okay. Sure.
I'm not sure. Yeah, like I read that. So why are we pricing it at $45? But okay.
That's still. I mean, that's still probably the correct price, I would say.
It is better. Yeah, it is better than a full $70 price point for that game, and it's something that like when it is on sale on one of those digital sales, I'll pick it up and play.
It'll go to 30 or 25.
But I'm not
for sure
paying $45 for it. So, but I remember liking that game pretty fondly when it came out. So, as we continue talking about Xbox stuff, there's been these rumors forever. There was even the rumors at E3. There was the rumors after E3 when Phil Spencer did that interview. He played really coy about the Xbox handheld system. And now it seems like that will sit alongside whatever the new console is. But again, this gets into the question we just went through for a good 40 minutes here, which is like, what's the point?
Yeah.
If you're not going to put games for it. Although, a handheld system that could just natively play and download Game Pass games is pretty cool.
That's the point. That is the point of it. The other point of it is it needs to be doesn't have to connect to your Xbox.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be a portal. It needs to be a Steam Deck.
How powerful do you think they make that thing? Do you think it's as powerful as a Steam Deck?
Minimum. Yeah. You could get it. I mean, if we're talking about like when the next system comes out, you could get it to be as powerful as a Series X by that point.
Okay.
And that's really all it would ever have to do. Like, it just needs to be able to stream.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, it should be able to stream, but it should also have.
I don't want. I was gonna say I don't want it to be a portal.
No.
Portal works for people that want it, but like I want it to download the game.
It needs to be a native thing, and so it probably needs to have at least 250 storage in it.
I would agree.
You can get a 250 M2 in there real easy, and if they're smart, they just say you can put your own M2 in it if you want to. You want to spend the whatever for a 2 terabyte? Fine, we'll give you 256 to start.
Yeah,
and
as long as they give you a way to upgrade the storage externally, and this is the key point, it's not some stupid bullshit proprietary thing that they create.
It should be just an M2 drive that you can take the back off of it.
Not stupid drives for the Series X where I gotta pay $150 if I want. But
take the back off,
on that.
Unscrew it, put it in, and put it back. Yeah, but it could be as powerful as the Series X by the time. I mean, a new console's 3 years, 4 years.
Let's say that's 2026 at the earliest. I could see it.
Yeah,
I could see it at that point. And it'd be I could see a handheld system like that sitting around the $250, $300 range.
By that point, a portable Series X
makes sense.
Depending on the storage size, $350.
And I think you get more than one model, and it's storage size based.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then you have whatever the console is, which will probably be $500.
That'll be and that'll be a stream box. That won't have a disc drive anymore.
Absolutely.
They don't make physical games anymore. Why would it have a disc drive in it?
No, they don't. But Ready at Dawn has closed, Dan.
Wow.
You're not going to get an order 1887.
I was hoping for 1885. I want the prequel.
You want the prequel. That guy basically became Batman at the end of that game.
That game, you know what?
Wasn't bad.
No, it came out. It came out a lot longer ago than you think it did.
It was pretty much a launch window game. It was like February of the next year.
Yeah.
My game's perfectly fine. It's
just short.
It's short.
Really?
Huh?
Hellblade.
Order 1886. It's a good game.
You guys enjoyed that game?
For what it was at the time. And it's just short.
I took that game back same day.
Oh, no.
But here's the thing. We also were able to rent that game. We did not buy
that
game
for free.
$60.
So
as a rental, perfect.
Yeah, I got it for free.
If I paid $60, I'd be a little upset.
Did I get a physical copy for free?
I was about to say, as a game I paid $60 for, I definitely took that game back.
Oh, no, I would have been
No.
Did one of our buddies buy the collector's edition?
I have one because it went down to clearance for like $15.97.
Yeah,
so I was
like, all right,
I'll buy it for $15.97.
That's good.
Because it came with like that little dude. He's like up against a wall or something.
But they never got a chance to really make anything big like that again. They kind of got regulated to being a VR studio, which obviously VR right now. VR. I mean, they just put out that adapter for the PSVR 2, so they'll get people.
I love the story that they're like the PSVR 2 selling like crazy because you cut the price by $200.
You cut the price by $200, and then you added a $60 adapter, which actually makes it like one of the cheaper options for PC VR now. So,
but also you have no games for it. So
that's the biggest problem. It's like, what would I play on it for PlayStation?
You'd play the Horizon game one time.
What would I play for it on PC? There's some stuff.
There's some stuff you could play on PC.
There's some stuff there, but for whatever reason, I've never been interested in VR, and I'm still not. So
they gave me that one for free. I used it like for the first week I had it, and then I put it away.
Well, and the reason why I can't do it in my house is because of the breakout box, all the wires. I have cats. Yeah. It's not going to work.
Right.
I could do it in my office and my computer because there's no cats in here, but
I have
I
a
just don't
meta,
care.
and I get seasick when I play it, so I don't.
See, that's the thing, and that's the other reason why I haven't bought one is because I don't know what my reaction would be.
Yeah.
Because if I buy that thing and go okay, and I play it and I get seasick, then what? I
Yeah.
spent $400. It's not like you can just
Yeah.
I ended up being okay, but it's again, that's not something I would risk paying the money for.
not that much money.
Especially when it
So-
was $550. No, I'll go buy some
No.
Lego. I'll go buy some Lego sets, and I'll have more fun with those than a VR.
Speaking of Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League, which you'll get to enjoy at some point.
Excited.
I look forward.
Can't wait.
I look forward to
Ooh.
hearing the actual.
You just want me to be? You're looking forward to me being depressed for like a month while I play that game?
It's gonna be bad.
I know.
The game's failure had them their sales plummet 41%. Warner Brothers, 41%.
Who could have seen this coming?
And I believe in the same article or the same earnings call, they announced, no surprise, they're going to make a Hogwarts Legacy 2. So,
Well,
got to make some money.
that was the number one selling game of the year, right?
They expected. See, this is the thing that's stupid. They expected Suicide Squad to make the Hogwarts Legacy money
No,
because it was a Rocksteady game,
No.
and they looked at it as, well, they made all those Batman games. This is going to be the same thing. It's like, no, they did this completely other fucking weird, crazy, wild thing that at some point we'll know the whole story behind.
if it had been
How fucked up
an
it
actual
was.
Batman game, or if it had been the Superman game everybody wants, it probably would have done pretty well.
Right.
I still think there's a world, especially now, where that team, if they remain, which I still think, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
if they remain, they make a Superman game. The time's right. You're going to get a new Superman movie next year. The time is right to make
It
Superman.
is, but
And make a good one.
I'm worried about the
For
future
sure.
of that team.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about the future Rocksteady.
What should happen? What realistically will happen at this point is that studio is gonna quote unquote close, and all those people just make something new, and then they'll just make something else. And maybe it's time for them to not make it a licensed property and just try to make something their own.
Maybe they move them all to the Warner Brothers studio working on Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that game that totally still
We have-
exists.
I saw it mentioned
That game's
recently, so
fucked. That game's so
it
fucked.
is. It is. Let's talk about the weirdest story of the week. Your favorite.
It's back.
Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster of 1 through 6 physical re-release in North America.
Actual retail release.
Actual retail, which I have reserved a copy
Yeah.
now. So I
It's-
got one.
Yeah, I
through
feel like I
Amazon.
need to do that too.
I mean,
So
this seems like it at least is going to be available, and you will be able to buy
it does.
Right.
Yeah.
What's weird about it is it's an anniversary edition, but it has no changes because it's just those 6 games,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it comes with a sticker sheet. Wow,
Ooh.
it's crazy to me that they are doing this because they still sell it digitally.
What didn't yours came with something else? Didn't it, like pins or something? Wasn't stickers.
Did it come with something?
I want to say it came with pins or something.
No. I don't even remember.
Okay. It wasn't stickers.
No, I mean, we talked about it before where I was one of the lucky chosen ones who actually was awake at the right time to be able to buy it.
Well, see, when you first texted me about it, I was like, if it's on the Square Enix store, I don't care because
Right.
I'm not going to fight the battle.
Right.
But then when it was like, oh, it's retail everywhere, like, fine.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was-
It's just available. I think what I might do is I might buy the Switch version this time and get my sticker sheet, of course. Part of me is sad because it's going to make the value of the one I have plummet.
a little
But
bit.
it's still, not that I care
Definitely
because I'm
different.
never going to resell it. But it is technically a different edition of the game, and it can be identified as so. So for people who want a copy, it's not like there's more copies of
Yeah.
that one. But
And at some point, I had picked up 6 digitally, but I want to own them all anyways. So like this, I only bought 6.
yeah,
So.
well, in this way you have them all on a disc because it's really just like they're all small games that just install.
And they all install separately.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like
They're-
you have a menu.
No,
Okay.
there's 6 titles on my thing. It's crazy that it's back. It's even crazier that it's not Square exclusive. I don't know what compelled them to do this, but also quit fucking around and put 13 together in a set.
They
And
need to do a set of 13.
yes,
I don't know why they haven't done that yet.
I don't need remakes. I just need remasters.
No.
I just want them
13,
all
1, 2,
There you go.
3,
to play on
one
PS.
package.
Make it a PS4 game. It doesn't have to be a PS5 game. Like, It's just that's really all we're missing now, and tactics. But tactics we need to remake.
That's different. That needs a full.
And
that's also the thing where
remake.
they could. I think they could totally get away with the Sony thing of like, oh, here's a re-release of it to tease people, on the PlayStation on PSN, and then announce it.
Well, because they've been doing that thing lately where they're releasing like PSP games and PS2 games and all this shit. Mm-hmm. Put out the PSP version of Tactics.
Yeah,
do that. Like you want a game
sell.
people will buy?
People buy it.
$20. People will buy it.
Exactly.
I'll buy it. Put trophies in it? Hell yeah, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
I put this next story in here because I actually got tricked by this.
Uh-oh.
That's more the reason why. I didn't buy it. Okay. I didn't buy the game. Okay. But it highlights what you and I talked about a couple of weeks ago about how Sony has a huge shovelware problem on the PlayStation Store.
There's no standards at all.
So there's this horror game that came out. It's kind of like PT, except you're walking through a loop in a subway station called The Exit 8. So I saw people talking about this. It's really cheap. It's like $3-4 game. It's been on Steam for a while. Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
I've watched entire playthroughs of it.
Okay.
Wow.
And so I was like, I'm kind of interested in that. I'll add it to my PlayStation wish list so I don't forget. And I loaded it up. And the first thing that came up was another game called The Exit 9.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, did they make a sequel to this game? I didn't really think about it. I added that to my wish list too. And then maybe an hour later, I saw this article come out like, don't get ripped off by this other shovelware game that is like 3 times the cost of the real one.
And it's just a ripoff. But here's a good example. Here's a good story about it for you. So I know about Exit 8 because the Game Grumps played it. And I like watching them play like those observation duty games and all that kind of stuff. And so they played that. They actually played Exit 9. Thinking it was a sequel to this game.
Oh.
And I was watching it going, this doesn't seem right. This seems like somebody is copying it. And they finally kind of caught on to it towards the end where it's clearly a ripoff.
It's then, like 3 times the price.
And then the company that made Exit 8, though, actually just made a prequel to it called, I think, this like Station 8 or something, which is like you're on a train car instead.
Okay.
You'll like the game. You should buy Exit 8 and play it.
It's $4.
You will like it. You should save it for Spooky Month.
I will probably buy it on Steam.
Yeah.
And I will play it for Spooky Month. Yeah,
save it for Spooky Month. You'll like it. It's pretty cool. Don't watch anything about it.
Okay.
Because it's not like it would ruin the loop of the game, but you'll spoil things that
I didn't know anything about it until they put up this article. So.
It'll spoil things that could happen, so you don't want to watch it.
Okay.
But yeah, you should play the Exit 8 and then...
Is it jump scary like PT? Or is it just weird?
It's weird feeling kind of thing.
Okay. Like creepy?
Yeah, a little bit. It's not meant to be like spooky scary. It's meant to be like off-putting. Does that make sense?
So like pools, which I'm just saying.
Yeah, a little bit.
I was just about to say the same thing.
A little bit where it's just like, it's kind of weird.
I'm saving that for Spooky Month.
Yeah. So the loop is basically like you're going down the same hallway over and over again, and there's a way to figure it out.
I like that.
Yeah. So then, also look up the Station one that they made too, and wishlist that because you'll want to play that too. But play that after.
Okay.
Those are cool games.
Okay. We'll go through this next one quickly, but I'm excited. Probably my most anticipated release of the year, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, which now does have a physical date of November 8th. So that's when the physical version of it comes out. Still coming out digitally September 19th. Oh, you reserved it? Okay. I will get it physically on PlayStation. But I'm going to buy it digitally.
That's one of 3 things I have reserved. That, Dragon Quest, and Zelda.
Okay.
Those are all things I need physically.
I'm going to do the digital deluxe too, just because I want all those stupid costumes that they're adding. They look great. Yeah. Did you see the Bobby? It's absurd how they animated it. So they put out this video. It's like 11 minutes. It's all in Japanese. It's subtitled. It has like the creator and then like the other director like kind of running through it, talking about the different changes. There's some really just nice quality of life stuff that they've changed. There's some other things that are surprising. Like, for example, all of the dialogue in the game is now fully voice acted. Like everything.
That's cool.
So, like, for example, Otis now is fully voice
That's good
Like,
because that was
remember,
always one of those things that was kind of annoying in the first game when like the thing would just go off and you'd have to read.
Remember that game had
everything
the
it said.
infamous. Remember that game had the infamous. If you were playing on a standard def TV, you couldn't read the game.
anything.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
Because I remember that.
It was awful.
I remember going from a standard def TV to my computer monitor.
Remember that was
and then I was like, I could read this game.
That was the thing that they like advertised about the Xbox One version of it, where they're like, no, you can read it.
Yeah, they did.
Like, oh wow.
They put in like item durability bar on all the items now, so you can actually see when they break. Like, they did that in later Dead Risings, obviously. You can turn off the HUD if you want to do that. They put in like a game streaming mode, so you can turn off the licensed music, but they did confirm all the licensed music is back. Just a lot of like really cool quality of life stuff.
Nice.
Voice acting is probably the biggest one to me because it's cool that they went back. They re-recorded a lot of the voices. A lot of the people that got back the original people too.
That's
like,
great.
From what they said, it was the original person that voiced Otis.
Wow. Okay.
And then the other thing that they put in here that this came out maybe a day later that I guess has some controversy. I don't know. Is that they so you obviously a big part of that game is photography, taking pictures of different things. You get like the little prestige points, which is how you level up Frank West. One of the categories was labeled erotica. It's like you take a picture of, like, for example, like the vibrator looking thing, you get erotica. They've removed the word erotica from the game. So it's no longer a category.
Fine.
For me, who cares? We're still taking the pictures.
Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, like, so I've seen some people get pissed about it, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Then finally we have Doom Eternal is finally getting mod support 4 years later. Will be coming to the Xbox a little bit, or Xbox and the PC version of it on the Xbox store a little bit later, but it's out on Steam now.
That's cool. They're also doing the re-release of like 1 and 2.
I saw. Yeah. So what is entailed in that?
I think it's just like a combination of it with like more stuff.
But they did something. They're doing something with the Super
Enhanced
Nintendo cartridge.
Yeah.
You see that?
So
I don't know what that is. Yeah, I think it's a limited run thing. But
online cross-platform deathmatch, soundtrack, 4K. It's basically just going to be like the ultimate editions of.
They have a price on that?
I think it's cheap. I mean, if you already own either one of them, you get the upgrade for free.
Oh, hell yeah, I own both.
Yeah, and I think I do too. And it's $10.
I own both on Xbox and Switch.
Yeah, it's more so like just like a patch that like.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, then I'll totally check it out. Yeah. So, big Doom fan. And then we have not one.
Before we get into that real quick.
Yeah,
I just wanted to share. I was reading through some of the stories that we were going through, and a little ad popped up. Apparently, Best Buy is doing a deal for the next, I think it said 10 days.
Yeah.
They're doing the 10-day, 10 days. There's a different deal.
Yeah, so right now, today, it's Madden 24, but they haven't released which other ones are coming up, so I just wanted to throw that in there just in case anybody's looking for some deals.
Yeah.
I want to say last year there was one thing I got out of it, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it's typically like 1 out of 10 success rate for me.
And they usually are keeping it at the $10 price range too.
Yeah, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
just figured I'd share.
No, that's a good thing. I forgot about. I saw it and then I saw it was bad and said, that was my response.
Same here.
So, but we got not one but two GameStop idiot moves of the week. The first one is probably the biggest and probably one of the biggest stories of the last 2 weeks, which is I mean, I guess it was at random, but also it's the kind of thing, in my opinion, where it's like I'm surprised it took this long.
There are two sides to this.
Okay, but they have shut down Game Informer. It is no more after 33 years. But it is one of those situations where it is like an effective immediately. The site's gone. Yeah. They nuked all of it, which is the super wrong way to do it.
But when a guy who sells dog food online runs your company, there's no rules about how you're fired or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a bittersweet thing, just because like I think Game Informer is kind of, or is it the last print like multi-platform magazine that was actually any good?
Yeah.
You know, it hasn't been physically part of the Pro Card in a while. You know, they
like a year
they did that whole weird like trying to shift to digital even when we were there.
Yeah.
But they could just never pull the plug and just do it. And when it really felt like that's what they wanted to do. It's a bummer it's gone, just because it's a bummer when any kind of physical media stuff disappears.
Yeah.
And the way they did it is awful. Like writing like an AI send off and all the people writing like, we found out we were fired before we went in the meeting.
A lot of those people found out from the Twitter posts.
They found out before they were fired.
Appreciate
the way they shut everything off was terrible. But my counterpoint to this, and this is me playing, hot take of the year or whatever. A lot of these people bitching online about Game Informer getting shut down. When's the last time you paid for Game Informer?
Exactly.
What did you do to support Game Informer for the last 5 years? Because everything I was reading was like, oh man, I used to read it when I was a kid. Oh, I can't believe they shut down part of my childhood. Oh, I grew up on game. Like, I remember when I used to have a pro card, I'd get Game Informer. So all of you are admitting that you have not paid a single cent to this company for years, and now you're sad it's gone? Yeah. Man, I can't believe they shut down the Best Buy. I never shopped there, but I can't believe that the Best Buy in town closed. Like, that's the same argument.
It is.
How dare you make sense?
Yeah, there's a way to be nostalgic about something and be sad that it's gone, even though you didn't support it. But to like lash out online against a corporation that does not care about you, that you know is shitty, did something that you didn't support anyway, is crazy. Like, you can be sad Game Informer is gone. You don't get to be angry that you didn't support Game Informer. Right?
I was going to say, it's like, it'd be like me when Family Video finally shut down. It's like, yeah, I was upset about it, but I had to ask myself, when's the last time I actually rented a movie, Family Video? Only because they weren't in the vicinity of where I lived.
I can't believe that restaurant in town, that local restaurant in town shut down. It's because everybody was going to Chili's, dude. When's the last time you went there?
Yeah.
Like, you can be nostalgic for things and be upset that it's over. But if you didn't support it, you don't get to be angry.
No.
Why would they close Game Informer? I read that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I have issues from...
We all have memories of the early days of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
EGM.
At some point we all had, EGM.
EGM got shut down.
Pro, Nintendo Power.
Yeah, all of it got shut down.
All of them.
But
Game Informer was the last one, and they kind of only made it as far as they did for a long time because of GameStop and because of the Pro Card. The minute that got severed, then it became the question of, well, how much longer is this really going to last?
Right.
Because
and
print media makes no sense in 2024.
And they had a YouTube channel, which by some accounts that I've read is pretty good, but it's under 1 million subscribers. And how many people... But the thing is like, some things can sustain that, but how many people work there? Can you sustain just YouTube revenue from under 1 million with 25 people on staff? Probably not. I don't know.
No.
But probably not. So, and if GameStop is looking to cut more costs to show more profitability, especially during a fucking stock market mini crash, which just happened, and we all know that the only reason they're even relevant anymore is because of stocks. Wow, it sure seems easy to just cut the head off a Game Informer and say goodbye. So, is it a bummer it's gone? Of course it is. I still have all of my issues I got. I still have them. I look through them from time to time because it's really fun to go through like
it is
10, 15-year-old like
when I was
EGMs
when I was
like,
digging through those Nintendo Powers on the Internet Archives like a week ago when I was trying to figure out that Eternal Darkness card. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So. I told you one of my favorites from back then was a magazine called Play Magazine, which was like games, movies, anime, all this other kind of stuff.
Yeah,
while I was thinking about it, I found the first issue of it on the Internet Archive. I just flipped through it and read it. I was like, shit, dude, this magazine's good.
That's good.
Yeah. So like I miss that stuff. And the thing I will agree is shitty about the Game Informer stuff is they nuked the website. Like
it's all
that's
gone.
Crazy.
Is the YouTube channel gone too?
I think they kept it, and maybe the plan is to like merge that in onto the just rename it GameStop or whatever you want to do, or GameStop 2. But to nuke back issues of stuff like
33 years of history.
Crazy.
I mean, all that stuff will be backed up on the Internet Archives, but like, still to nuke it all in the same day and just pretend like it didn't happen,
right?
to not even give those people a proper send off or bit. Like they could have at least been like, okay, put out your last issue, because I think from everything I read, they were pretty close.
Yeah,
they were like towards the end of putting that issue out.
Yeah,
so they were at like 70-85%.
Everybody's access was like revoked. They're all locked out immediately. Like it's just it's all gone. It's weird. Yeah. It's weird.
It's very poorly handled, but again, not surprising.
Not surprising
for
in many ways. Yeah.
So, but it's sad. I mean, I'm sad to see it go, but I 100% agree, because I've seen nothing about that this week. Oh, it's so sad that it's gone. It was such a big part, but what have you done 5 years to support it? Yeah. Like nothing.
And especially since supporting it for a long time, all it took was a $20 card, which got you discounts on video games and stuff. You really, we had, how many people did we have that just signed up for the magazine? A lot.
You still have a. That's the other thing I would like to point out. Yeah. Yeah, like you would still have people that would do it, and that was the reason why, even over the discount.
I don't want the discount on any of the points, but I like the magazine. Yeah, I do too, man. $20 for, 10 to 12 issues, depending on the year. Yeah, it was a deal, but
it was.
If you haven't done it since, then you don't get to argue.
No, agree. Then GameStop, their other dumb blunder. This happened. I think this happened earlier.
This is a whole thing, but go ahead and explain it.
They did the so the Xbox 360 digital store shut down, and they decided to meme it by saying, well, what is it? The store's never shut down here because we still have physical games. But again, like, can you walk into a GameStop today and buy a 360 game? I don't think you
have
can.
To get lucky.
If you okay,
yeah,
it's not every store.
Those are retro stores. No.
I know the one in town where I live does not have.
From what I know now, is certain stores are now designated as like retro hubs, where other stores in the district are supposed to send all of their stuff there. So
they consider 360 retro at this point, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
That PS3, PS2, like PS2 stuff. But the story that really is part of this is, I think from what I read, this guy's new, whoever the social media guy is.
I was going to say, they're new social media guys.
And they have unleashed him. They have said, you can do whatever you want.
He's had some bad
posts. It's not going to end well because they're terrible. And the one thing I saw, which is going to blow up some things, is he's starting to make posts about Reddit posts, including Reddit posts from the GameStop Reddit.
That's bad.
Even if you've ever been on the GameStop Reddit, it is a place where just everybody bitches about GameStop. Fine, that's what Reddit's for, right? It's mainly old employees. There's always been does corporate read this? Well, of course they do, but you're never going to know that for sure.
Right.
Now it's proven. No. Of course they do. Yeah. This guy's posting from within it. So, and you think that you're anonymous on Reddit and they can't find out who you are? Bullshit.
Well, they can find out.
Bullshit. I can find out who you are on Reddit. I can find out the story you run on Reddit.
If they can find out who leaked the Nintendo Wii at whatever conference you were at, if they
can find one person in a room of 100 within an hour, they can find you on Reddit.
Yeah,
I can find out using your screen name and past posts on Reddit what store you bought. You're not invisible.
No,
there's one person. I'm not going to name drop. There's one person on that Reddit who acts like they're the fucking king of this place, and they bitch about they're the typical, I was number one in everything. I was the best. I know everything. Okay. I know everyone. I was the greatest who's ever been. And
my store was number one. No other store was ever as good as
never
my store.
Cheated at numbers. I'm the best. But then they quit and went someplace else.
Boo.
But they still act like they fucking work there and run this Reddit.
Terrible.
I haven't worked for GameStop in a long time. Right? You haven't either. We talk about it on here because we have memories of it and I keep up with it.
Answer questions.
I don't pretend I fucking know everything. I have opinions about this stuff. This person just spouts off. I know I'm the king. I know everything. Do you want to know what I did for fun one day? 15 minutes. I found out what stores they were in. 15 minutes.
Okay.
Damn.
Awesome.
Took no time at all.
I haven't walked into a GameStop in about a year now, so
no, you
haven't had a reason.
No.
It's been like a year, yeah.
Really?
The
only store, with one exception, and that was back in the spring. When we went to the mall over here. I walked into the mall store.
That's different.
I don't know if I really count that.
No,
that was bad.
Those are curiosities for me.
Yeah, but no, an actual physical store. The last time I was in one was when I went to 3 or 4 in a row looking for RoboCop.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I have not been in a store.
Yeah, mall stores don't count.
A year.
We were out in Colorado years ago visiting someone for a wedding, and we went to some mall, and I saw the GameStop, and I kind of like looked at it, and I was like, fuck, I have to go in just to see. That was when I worked there still. So I was like, I have to see. And I went in there and just kind of looked around and went, I'd kill myself if I were in this store. And I left.
Yeah, it's the
mall stores are terrible. Wild. Different.
Well, in the district we worked in, if you were getting sent to the mall store, that's where they wanted to kill your career.
That was the end. Yeah.
You knew that was your death sentence. They sent you there.
That was a confirmation that you were not liked by the district manager.
Oh,
because the guy I took my store from, he got sent to the mall, and that's where he went, and he was not long for the world after that.
No. So, oof. But we can kick it over to some movies and TV stuff. Not a lot of movie stuff, but TV stuff. I've wrapped up some stuff. So I did review this on my channel, but I will talk about it here because I have a little bit more to say about it than I did there, and I've had more time to process and think about it since doing that. But I have seen fully for the people that have asked, and actually I have people reaching out and asking me my thoughts on it. Batman Caped Crusader, which dropped on Amazon it was on the 1st. They dropped the whole thing.
Okay.
So the whole thing, you watch all 10 episodes of it. Overall, I was pretty. Here's the funny thing. Overall, I'm more positive on it than I think anyone else, which is like people fucking hate this thing. And then there are people that are just indifferent on it. There are problems with it. There are issues that I have with it, which I will briefly go into. Number one, which probably is going to get me in a little trouble saying this, but they do the 2024 thing here where they decided we're going to do a gender swap with a character. Fine, I don't really have a problem with that, but the character they choose to do that with is the Penguin. It doesn't really work with the Penguin. So my problem with it isn't because they made the Penguin a woman. It is they do it in a very half-assed way. So what they do here, and this is the part that's even more bizarre to me, is they switch. And so, okay, all right, Penguin's a woman now. They give her 2 sons. So she's got 2 sons. And within the first 10 minutes of like this episode, when you're just learning a little bit, because I'm like, okay, I want to learn more about this version of the Penguin. Fine, if you're gonna make her a woman, cool. Yeah. Tell me why that's interesting. In the first 10 minutes, she kills one of her sons.
Whoa.
Like, wow. I'm talking dark, like literally, like puts chains on him, throws him over the boat railing, and this person's fucking dead. And then I question myself.
So when does he come back as the Joker?
The Joker's coming in season 2.
Okay, so he'll be back.
We'll get to that. Okay. Here's the problem I have with it is like I spent the rest of the episode asking myself, are these 2 guys actually her sons, or is this just who she calls her mob thugs?
Oh yeah.
They don't it's like stuff like that. Like they don't really explain it, but then later on, like watching other people's reviews and stuff, everybody kind of collectively agrees, no, it was supposed to be her 2 kids. And it's like, all right, but I don't feel anything because I knew this character for a grand total of 2 minutes. So like, why do I care? Like, when they introduce her, there's a scene where she's singing and then they have all these men swooning over her. And it's one of those, like, I don't understand that. It's not handled well. And for it being the first episode of this show, it's a poor first episode because when you get to the second episode is a retelling, kind of reimagining of Clayface. And it is done so expertly well.
Okay.
Like, so well done. In this, like, 1940s style, that it just makes that first episode a waste of time in comparison. It's very well done. Other things that people have complained about, they do tend... One thing I don't like about the show, and I think a lot of people pointed out, is it is a Batman show. He is there, but some of the episodes he is more regulated to a side character for Barbara Gordon.
Oh.
Who kind of takes like a central stage. Here she's an attorney. So she does have a lot of like talking tracks with Harvey Dent. They also, like, another thing I like, they made Harvey Dent an ass in this show. He's not the White Knight that you think, but he does have the transformation into Two-Face. Well, we can talk about that in a minute, but he's kind of an asshole. Like, and it's weird. Having him be an asshole as Harvey Dent does not make sense for that character.
No, that's not the point.
It doesn't work. But they do things that they do really well on the show. They have Renee Montoya. They actually give her a very good like arc of a story in that Clayface episode. They have her do a lot of the detective work, which is kind of interesting. And they kind of flesh out her character a lot more. Another thing I don't like, I don't think I even mentioned this in my review. Harvey Bullock. You know who the character of Harvey Bullock is from the animated series? He's just a straight up bad guy on this.
Wasn't he our man from Gotham?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was our buddy.
Yeah.
Okay. He's just a fucking corrupt cop on this show.
That's kind of a bummer.
Straight up. Him and one other guy. They're just both corrupt cops.
He was always the kind of guy where he kind of like walked the line, and that's why you like
there's no walking the line here. He's just a corrupt cop. I do not like how they handle Jim Gordon. He is not Jim Gordon. Like, I love the 2022 Batman movie. It has nothing to do with, they do a race swap here. I don't care about that. What I don't like about it is they have regulated him to Barbara Gordon's dumb dad.
Oh, no.
And that's all he is through the everything is like, oh, dad, you know, this and that. It's just, that's not Jim Gordon. The most egregious thing that I do not like about the show, like Harley Quinn. They've completely redone her character.
Again?
She is not, so this show, there is no Joker yet. Okay. They tease him at the very end. So he's going to be coming in season 2. She doesn't know Joker, and she's already Harley Quinn. They have turned her into like what I can only describe to you as a PG-13 Jigsaw.
Oh no.
So she only goes after rich, wealthy men, but she's a psychiatrist during the day. She's going after rich, wealthy men who then she traps, and she puts them in like awkward trap positions, but they don't kill the person. They just make them go crazy. Because again, it's an animated show. They do show death on this show. Like it is not a kid show in the way that the animated series, like people fucking die on this. But I don't like what they did with her at all. And the other flop that they do to her character, and this is probably their way of thinking they're clever, is she is very warm and bubbly and what you would think Harley Quinn is as Harley Quinzel. And she's dark and serious as Harley Quinn. So they flipped her personality that way. So every time she's made up as Harley Quinn, she's like dark, brooding, you know, like I don't know anything, like she would be if she was a psychiatrist, you know, more straight-laced. But when she's a psychiatrist, now she's more bubbly and you know, it's really bizarre.
That is
did not like that. There are 2 episodes that deal with supernatural elements that I really did like. And then the other thing I'll say, and this is a little bit, this will go into a little bit of spoiler territory as well. So, the very end of it deals with Harvey Dent becoming Two-Face, and it's handled very well. But they make the sin that the Dark Knight makes, and they kill him. With that being said, they do a thing that I've seen a lot of people on the internet up in arms about. It was a scene that I enjoyed. But apparently everybody else fucking hated it. And you've probably seen screenshots of this going around. Batman picks up a gun. So there's a screenshot going around with him holding the gun. And a lot of people are like, you know, he's holding the gun. So what it is, and I'll explain it because it's taken out of context on the internet. They're fighting on these docks. He's trying to save Harvey Dent at the end. Obviously, Harvey Dent has gone crazy. He's Two-Faced now. He's killing a bunch of fucking people. There is a mob guy. Batman is trying to get to him. And this mob guy successfully shoots and kills Harvey Dent in front of him.
Oh, boy.
Like he would have seen his parents.
Oh, okay.
So when he gets there, and the dude that kills Harvey Dent looks at him and like he knows him, he drops the gun. He's like, I fucked up. Batman picks up the gun and looks at him and holds the gun at him. And you're like, is he going to fucking shoot this dude? And then they cut to black and you hear like 6 shots. And I'm like, holy shit, did he fucking just murder this dude? And when they come back, he is shot all the way around this dude's head. So he has not actually shot the dude. He just shot all the way around, and he just fucking throws the gun. That's a Batman move. He did it out of frustration. Because he cannot kill somebody. So I thought that was really well done, but everybody on the internet hated it. So I don't know. Overall, like, I gave it an 8 when I originally rated it. I don't do, like, points and stuff, but if I were to rate it and if I could do a point system, I would give it a 7.5.
Okay.
For the issues, because I do think there are good episodes. I do think that they can fix some of the issues. All of the voice acting is spectacular. All of the animation is spectacular. No complaints across the board. It just needs some story tweaks, and the whole season has like peaks and valleys and towards the quality. Like Some episodes are really good. Other episodes, you're kind of like, what the fuck's going on here? Like I said, there's part like in the middle of the show, there's one episode that almost delegates him to a side character, and it's all about Barbara Gordon. It's kind of weird. But at the very end, that is the tease. You hear a laugh, and then you see a guy in a shed, and you see a bunch of people that have been injected with like the laughing stuff.
Okay.
And then you see like a brief shot of Joker, and he says something like his voice sounds crazy. He says one word and then it cuts to black. So he's coming in season 2 because they can never hold back.
You can't not do it.
You can't not do it. So overall, like I said, 7.5. I think it's worth people's time, but I just hope that they kind of iron out some of the problems. So, and also, last thing I'll say on it is like Batman at one point is a real fucking ass to Alfred, but he does apologize. Because when he does it, it was one of those things like even my girlfriend was like, I don't like this. And then by the end of the series, he apologizes for it. So, but overall, it's fine. But if you're going into it expecting like the next animated series, because Bruce Timm is attached to this thing, it is not that. So, but I think it's worth watching. So I watched that. All my stuff's TV shows. I didn't have any time to watch any movies. So I will be next time we record. I will talk about Alien Romulus because I got my tickets for that. But, I did watch. I re-upped Netflix to watch Unsolved Mysteries Volume 4 or Season 4, whatever you want to call it. It's 5 episodes. I will tell you real briefly. You can skip the first episode if you're a fan of the show because it's Jack the Ripper. There's nothing new to that case. It's just an hour of them talking about like we still can't figure out who it is.
I watched something about him on some other special like 10 years ago, and that kind of seemed like the definitive end of everything they would ever find out.
There's nothing new. Like even with the technology and stuff, within 10 years.
I subscribe to you may have heard it. I subscribe to the theory that he left London for New York and just came over here. Mm-hmm. And like that seems like the most logical thing because they can kind of like line it up with certain things.
Absolutely.
And he just disappeared, and that would explain a lot. So,
all the other episodes are very, very good. There's one that's a crazy like murder that's in like this dude's wife gets murdered in a basement, but there's too much blood, and it's like what happened here? That's a crazy one. There's another one that's about a severed head. And then the one that I wrote off because when I read the initial season, I was like, okay, first episode Jack the Ripper is gonna be trash. The last one I wrote off as well until I watched it, which was it's gonna be about Mothman. I'm like, what new is there to talk about Mothman? One of the best episodes of the season.
Interesting.
Gotcha.
There's a lot to talk about with that. They even had recent sightings as of 2019 in the Chicago area. So over by O'Hare. Yeah, so very interesting. I enjoyed it, but overall, pretty good season. I wish there was more episodes because it hasn't been on for 2 years. You can only pump out 5. Little weird. And then I'm not going to get really deep in this. I'm just going to say I watched all House of the Dragon season 2. I'm not the world's biggest Game of Thrones fan. Like I think it's fine. I think House of the Dragon is like diminishing returns of Game of Thrones. This season kind of sucked. Like it is from the equivalent of what I've read online. Everything that has happened in this show this season is the equivalent of 2 pages of the book it is based on.
That's crazy.
Dang.
And the other thing you have to remember is this entire show is only based on 1 book. The original series was based on a multitude of books.
That's wild.
So, I don't know. It ended in a way where I'm like, okay, we're going to take a 2-year break from this because now TV shows are on this 2-year thing for whatever reason. And I don't know. Am I going to care when it comes back? I don't know. So
no.
Even my buddy, biggest Game of Thrones fan I know, was put down by the season of the show. So I don't know. That's the stuff that I've watched. Like I said, next time we record, I'll be able to talk about Alien Romulus. I really highly look forward to seeing that. So, you watch anything, Dan?
No, nothing important.
Okay. You have, Matt.
I did. Went ahead and saw the movie of the summer, I guess is what you can refer to it as, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Which I will say, we can talk about spoilers now because everybody in the world has fucking seen the movie.
Yeah. If you wanted to see it, you saw it.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen it by now, sorry.
Yeah. Too late.
It's made over $1 billion, hasn't it? It's hit them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I believe so.
It's the highest grossing R-rated film of all time now.
Okay.
Honestly, I thought it was great. I enjoyed a lot of it. the cameos were just a lot of fun, to be honest with you. Like I was really, I thought, oh, that was really cool. I think really, if I had any critique, I'm. I just feel like the story from 2 to Deadpool versus Wolverine was missing, was lacking something.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, I don't think this. I think this franchise gave up on being story driven for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, but realistically, like I didn't go in thinking it was gonna be like that. To be honest with you, like when I heard it was Deadpool Wolverine, I just assumed it was like a whole new branch of the story, you know. And then when they kind of touched on it in the beginning, where the TVA got mad at him for going in the past, it's like, okay, so I mean, there is something there. All in all, man, I give it an 8.5 out of 10. It was fantastic. I didn't have a bad time watching it. Like the cameos kept me invested. Wesley Snipes coming back as Blade was just fantastic callback. I did not see that happening.
That is not, like, going into the movie, that was one of the people I had written off as like, it'll never happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought you would see Ghost Rider over him.
They talked about it, or they were like, maybe that would have been a good one.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I didn't think it was too much. I thought it was enough for what I wanted, and knowing that it kind of is helping along this next series of MCU type movies, I'm more invested now in what's going to happen in the future.
It does a good job, even though like it really doesn't have any stakes into like what's going to happen in the future for the MCU. It does a good job of reigniting interest for people like me that have been checked out.
That's a big part of it. I also think that like you'll see little tiny things from this movie matter and stuff. Like the whole, like the concept of an anchor being, that's going to be probably a big part of it.
That's probably going to be a big part of whatever.
Because it's clear that was going to end up being Tony Stark, and then that's going to be a big part of whatever's, in theory, could be a big part of what's going to play out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right, Matt. Like, it's just fun. Like, I think anybody who goes into this movie with high expectations of it's going to be a cinematic masterpiece needed to pump the brakes. Like, just relax and watch the movie. You know?
Yeah.
And like the cameos were amazing.
I'd say the highlight was Gambit too. Channing Tatum is fantastic. Like I was super excited.
I loved it because it was both like it was cool to see, but like he's also seems kind of like an idiot. Mm-hmm. You know, like he's kind of a dumbass in this, but it fits just because that's kind of like what the movie's going for. But like obviously he had some of the more quotable things in the whole movie, like but yeah, seeing him was fun. Seeing Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, amazing, because they tease you for a minute, and then if you're looking close, you're like, I don't think so, and then he just turns into Johnny Storm, like perfect,
flame on,
yeah. The whole thing with him getting killed and Deadpool having to rewind and all that shit was fantastic. I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, if you have not seen it yet, I mean,
what you doing?
take an opportunity, man. I think it's a fun film. I thought it was just it was very entertaining, and honestly, sometimes is what you just need, just stupid entertainment. I mean, the whole bye dance in the very beginning, we didn't need that, but it was hella fun to just watch him do it, you know? I don't know. I thought it was a great film. I thought the only another critique I would have to say is that the Wolverine mask, I wasn't a fan of it.
I wasn't a fan of it either. Yeah, like
I don't know why.
It just looked goofy, right? Like it looked almost like it was too rubbery, and like
I think they made a mistake by having it be like part of the suit.
Yeah.
It should have been like he pulled it out of his pocket or something.
Should have been more like a Batman cowl or something. Right?
Yeah. But I thought it was still cool. Yeah. All in all, I think setting up the way that kind of played little nuances, and it's going to set up for the rest of the MCU is going to be interesting. I definitely say that much. And then I watched Garbage of the Week.
I could have told you this was garbage.
This fucking movie Tarot or Tarot or whatever. Tarot cards, right?
Yeah.
Tarot cards. It was completely stupid. I mean, the whole movie was predictable.
It's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it's on Netflix now.
I think it was out in theaters for like a week, and then it
wasn't out for very long.
The thing that kills me is like, so in the very beginning, you know, it's a group of kids. They're in the woods. They're doing the stupid campfire shit. Yeah. And it's just like, you know, the kids are like, oh, well, what's down here in the door? Let's just bust it open. Oh, what's all this weird shit down here? Yeah. Let me pick the weirdest fucking thing to play with down. And the whole time I'm like, no, like I know this movie was going to be bad, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. All in all,
the weirdest thing the kid could find is tarot cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, and it was because
like a Ouija board or like, you know,
it was because one of the girls, it was her birthday, and that's why they were on this camping trip. And she's like, "It's my birthday. Do a tarot card reading for me." And the other girl's like, "No, I don't think I should. You don't really mess with another person's tarot card." And it's the dialogue was horrible. The movie was bad. I was actually excited when people started getting killed off. And the guy who played who was it, Ned from Spider-Man?
Yeah. He's
in it, and his character's kind of annoying. Like, it just really is. The only shining light of this movie, I will say, that I enjoyed, the person, whoever created these monsters that were part of these tarot card things, they were cool. Like, they looked cool. They actually looked really, like, demonic and, like, menacing. And I will have to say that's probably the best part of the movie is the creatures that are coming, you know, from their tarot readings. And honestly, I checked out. Probably like the last 20 minutes. I kind of saw what happened, but I didn't see what happened because, like,
it's PG-13 too, right?
Yeah, the way that they ended up having to defeat the cards was the girl had to give a tarot reading to the monster who was like
that's bad.
Fucking like inhabiting it was just horrible. Like, it was just a very, very bad movie, and I don't know.
I think it was one of the worst rated movies of the year.
And it makes perfect sense. Like, it was just really, really bad. So don't watch it. Don't spend your hour and a half. Don't waste your hour and a half doing that. You know what? Take that hour and a half and go watch Deadpool Wolverine again. Like, you know, pour your money into something else, even your views into something else. Whoever did this movie just deserves a swift kick in the nuts because it was just horrible. Like, it was the premise wasn't horrible. Like, the idea behind
it's number one, bad premise, but if you're gonna tell me that I want to look at some weird shit and the weirdest thing they could find was tarot cards, like, that's.
And what killed me the most was the box looked like you shouldn't mess with it. Like, the box was like blacked out,
like the box from Hellraiser. Like, we should probably not fuck with
it had like hieroglyphic type stuff on the top of it, and you're just like, yeah, that looks not like something we should be messing. And then the fact that when she pulls out the tarot cards and she's looking at them, people are like, oh, those look so cool, and she's like, oh, I think these are like hand painted, and that made me even go, well, put them back. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like, no, this is
I'm just telling you, as a Hispanic male, if I am ever out and about with you guys and one of you find a box, if you don't put that box back, we are no longer friends.
What if we're in a cabin in the woods and we go downstairs and we read some weird book? Is that okay?
No, it's not okay. Keep books, tablets, tarot cards,
hidden stuff,
Ouija boards.
Even if the recordings that we find down there say, "Don't read this."
Yeah.
Don't read recording. Like,
there's a mirror that's always covered up by a blanket, and we're told not to take the blanket
don't take it off.
Okay.
Like, even if there's
a couple movies about those.
Yeah, like I tell you what really did it for me is I think it was last year, I went to Ohio for my uncle's funeral, and me and my sister went and got an Airbnb, and when you walked into the door of the Airbnb, it went directly into, like, there was a left to go up into the kitchen, and straight brought you right into the basement. And the only thing in the basement was a table, the washer, the dryer, and a furnace. And at that point in time, I was like, I'm never going into this basement. Like, I don't care what happens. I don't care what noises are made. And even my sister was like, should we go down there? I said, no. Like, we're better than this. We shouldn't. No, don't go down there. And she was like, I heard something creepy down. Like, at one point, she was like, did you hear something last night? And I looked at her dead in the face. I said, no. Like, I ain't hear not one thing last night. I went to bed. That's how we live our life. So, if things are hidden, the moral of this story, if things are locked up, leave them alone.
Leave them locked up and you're still alive.
Leave them alone. But that was it. That was the garbage I watched this week. And then the great movie of Deadpool and Wolverine. So,
there you go.
There we go.
Well, two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Two wholly opposite ends of the fucking spectrum, man. Like,
well, we can kick over to emails here. We have a couple of them we obviously have already read, but our first email comes to us from Bob from Austin, Texas. Hello there. I have two questions I'm interested in hearing your all's opinion. Number one, with everything that has been going on with the recent phase in the MCU, what do you credit the downward spiral to? Lack of interest? Is the general public just over the superhero genre? Lazy writing? Directors with agendas? Oversaturation with all of the shows? Number two, with the success of Deadpool and Wolverine and previous R-rated film Logan, do you see the MCU trying to capitalize on this success with R-rated films, possibly in the Blade, Midnight Suns, Marvel Monsters side of things? And he has a bonus question too. I'll get to in a minute. To answer the first question, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with everything you mentioned. There's a lot of that attributes to it. You have there is so. If you go back to 2019, when Endgame ended, you had, everything was undone, whatever. Tony Stark died. And I should preface by saying, everything we talk about answering these questions could be spoilers. So,
yeah,
at this point. So, and I mean, even me answering this, like, I haven't seen every of these new Marvel movies. Like, I haven't seen Shang-Chi. I haven't seen Eternals. I haven't seen, there's one other one I skipped in there. There's another one I skipped.
You haven't watched a lot of the TV shows either.
The Marvels.
Yeah.
TV shows, like, I skipped the Skrulls thing because I heard that was terrible.
Well,
I've seen enough memes of it to know what happened, and I watched the first episode of Loki and personally didn't care for it, so I know what happened in it though. But I think a lot of it is like that gave, like, at least that phase of things kind of a finality. They did release after Endgame. You got that second Spider-Man movie. That was kind of a good epilogue,
right?
In many ways. And then obviously COVID hit, and we had pretty much everything was delayed for a year.
Yeah.
Like WandaVision, all the stuff that they had planned for 2020 got pushed back. And then some of those projects got pushed back even further. For a while, because of COVID, they just kind of relied on these TV shows. Like WandaVision was, by all counts, excellent.
I loved it.
And then I still think they undid all the good in that with that Doctor Strange movie. And I like the Falcon and Winter Soldier show as well.
It's a great show too.
With that being said, a little heavy-handed at the end with his little speech, but it is what it is. I'm super pumped for that new. I'll say this: like, I am very excited for the new Captain America movie.
Yeah.
But with the exception that, like, it looks like it's following what a Captain America movie would be.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm excited about it. And I'm excited to see that guy finally be Captain America. So, but I do attribute a lot of it to first. I would attribute to COVID because COVID killed movie theaters for a while. I don't know if we're going to get back to. We're never going to get back to the point where every single one of these movies is coming out making $1 billion. That's not going to happen. That was kind of an anomaly. And like, also, I will always say, like, Captain Marvel, that movie was positioned in the best possible place it ever could have been. It came out between Infinity War and Endgame. You could have put any Marvel movie out between those two movies, it would have made $1 billion because everybody was waiting for Endgame.
Yeah.
How much fucking money that made. So, as far as like lack of interest, yeah, a lot of people like I lost interest because shit got wacky. It didn't seem like there's a clear sense of direction of what we want to do. We start introducing this Kane guy, but then it just seemed like they couldn't really pick like what we're really going to do with him or not. And then obviously that's all thrown out the window because what that guy did in real life. I didn't. The other movie I remember, Ant-Man. I never watched the new Ant-Man.
No, you don't have to.
Because I just didn't care. I saw the memes of what they did to one character, and I was like, I can't do this.
You don't have to watch
MODOK,
it.
yeah, like I can't do it.
I am on the other fence of that, where I actually enjoyed Ant-Man Quantumania.
Okay.
I do agree, MODOK was horribly done, but like I thought the movie was great, and I agree with everything he's saying here.
If we're all variants now, can't we just do a better variant of MODOK in the future?
Fucking right, yeah.
Right?
There's a Hulu version of him. I'm pretty sure that's better.
Yeah, like right. We now have a loophole where we could totally do that. But it's a multitude of things. There were directors and writers with agendas and stuff. From my understanding, a lot of those people have been let go because of the success of Deadpool Wolverine. So, they're also course correcting, and that leads into what they're going to be doing now with the Robert Downey Jr. stuff. I mean, I don't think it's not a secret. You know, it's not a spoiler to say that he's playing Dr. Doom.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously that's going to be a whole variant thing.
Well,
you know?
I was reading something where that's apparently how this is possible is supposed to be revealed in a comic book that comes out next month.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so to kind of just to give my thoughts on like the first question, it's basically that as someone who has watched 95% of it,
I was going to say you've seen more of it than I have.
I think almost all of it. I realized the other day I have not seen Black Panther 2. I don't know.
I have not either, but I
I'll watch it at some point. But it's too much. It's just it
is too much.
They did this thing a while back where they were like, we were going through all of the main characters, right? And then it was, well, let's what if we make a Guardians of the Galaxy movie? People don't know who they are. We can kind of do whatever we want. We can pick whatever version of this team we want and just kind of go forward. And it hit. And it hit big.
It hit very well, yeah.
So they're like, okay, so maybe we have some play with doing side characters for things. And I think what they did right for a lot of that was to relegate the side characters to like TV shows. Like Moon Knight gets a TV show. Probably doesn't need a movie.
Yeah.
Got a TV show. I like the show. She-Hulk doesn't need a movie. Gets a TV show. That was a misstep because it had a very clear message that I don't think hit with a lot of people. I thought the show was okay, but it
didn't they also try to do the same kind of Deadpool thing at the end?
Yes,
of She-Hulk,
but
just not successfully.
It was okay for what it was, but it was played off as more of a joke, and the show just as a whole kind of collapses on itself towards the end. I feel like Endgame was a thing where like we were building to it, and that could have been the end. But then they announced we're going to keep it going. We're going to do 4, 5, and 6. We'll do all these phases and stuff, but we're running out of stuff. Iron Man's dead. Captain America's gone. Black Widow's dead.
But we'll do a prequel movie with Black Widow,
and that one will be a mess because we mess up the villain. And we just they were so strong getting to a point, and then it kind of just fell off because you felt like you were just getting the same level of movie every time. There's parts of it that are okay. You generally like the people in it, but it doesn't do anything to push anything forward. And now we're building back up to Doomsday and Secret Wars, and which is good, but we have to do this correctly. to get to that point. But I also feel like when we hit Secret Wars, whatever this is going to be, which is probably going to be like the final giant face-off against Doom and whatever this is going to be, that needs to be like the end. And then it needs to start again. We have X-Men coming. Maybe you want to keep Fantastic Four as a holdover, because this whole Fantastic Four thing is going to be nuts, where we start in the 60s, but they're clearly going to have to come to the present day at some point,
right,
to fight Doom, which is okay in a Fantastic Four world because a lot of their adventures are time travel, cosmic type shit. You can put them in 2025 and nobody's going to blink.
No.
And maybe they could be a holdover that jumps to the next phase, but it really feels like we just need to start over and recast. And start over with Iron Man. And start over with Captain America. Tell new stories like a comic book does.
Well, and I also think that the thing that you said a while ago to me that I think is smart is once you get to the end of Secret Wars and you want to do a soft reboot. Like, I think once Secret Wars is over, I think you need to at least a year, but maybe longer.
Right.
Like, nothing Marvel. You know, still put out cartoons or whatever, but like nothing in the MCU. And I think when you do a soft reboot, like you said, I think rather than focus on the Avengers side of things, you need to reboot it by focusing on X-Men.
Right. X-Men should be the
X-Men
start
team
of the new thing. And then if we do X-Men for 6-7 years, then we can bring in a new Iron Man. Then we can bring in a new Captain America.
right.
The whole thing about, if you have read comics before, like Kyle, you and I have read a shitload of comics. Matt, I don't know how into comic books you've been in your life, but comic books they reboot and restart all the time. They tell new stories all the time. They tell stories that don't make any fucking sense all the time. The new Spider-Man stuff coming up, he's going to be working for Dr. Doom to kill a god. That is literally the next storyline in Spider-Man.
Do you know what the new iteration of Batman coming out? Absolute Batman. Have you heard about this?
It's like Marvel Ultimates, where they just said, fuck it, we're going to redo everything and start over.
Construction worker.
Yes, that's cool because it gives them the freedom. I was talking about it with our friend, where it's a cool idea because it literally lets them say, you have a blank slate to start it over, and you can tell the story you want to tell, and you can tell an entirely new story that people can read and jump in on this. And they're doing the correct person to do Batman to start over. And Scott Snyder, they're like, hey, you did a great job writing this for us for all these years. Now
they did it.
Now tell what you want to tell.
That's when I jumped in. We were the funny thing is we were looking at this stuff last night because we were setting up in that upper room. The upper room that we've kind of painted and stuff is kind of like a reading room, and so we were putting all like our collection of graphic novels and stuff up and trying to decide. Like, we were looking at the new 52 stuff because like I have that all like comic run in my basement with all my comics and stuff, and a lot of it's signed too because we went to how many of those conventions, but. That is when I jumped in, was when they did that reboot New 52, which is kind of like what they're doing with DC with this Absolute thing now. Like, here's a new run. It's easy to jump in on if you don't know anything. And that's why I jumped in on the New 52 and looking through that, realized like we're missing 4 of the graphic novels to have the complete Batman New 52 set. So we need to pick those up so we just have them all in graphic novel form. But again, they do this every like 10 years or so in comics where they will just reboot it all and start over again. And I don't think anybody movie-wise would really be that upset at this point, because if you look at it, when we get to 2030, it's been 20 some years since Iron Man 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
A 30-year story is enough. Right?
It's
enough
okay
to run that
point.
That's basically almost, by the time that's done, that'll have been more than half of my life the MCU has existed.
Yeah.
You can take a break, you can start over. Mm-hmm. And like, it's just, that's Secret Wars is a perfect way to end everything. Everybody gets to send off. This is all Earth. I forget what the movie universe number is.
616 or
616 is the Marvel, is the comics one.
Okay.
I forget what the movie one is.
10
I think it's like 10005 is the Fox one. I don't, who the fuck knows anymore. But that universe's story is over. You could tell a new universe's story.
And like, and that's what they need to do. I also, another thing I'd say, like, as far as like Spider-Man goes, and we've said this before, but like, we get to this point, if we haven't done it by Secret Wars, when you reboot everything, just do Miles Morales.
Yeah,
there's other options.
Everyone would be okay with that.
Yes,
nobody's going to complain.
Yeah,
just do it. Like,
so this leads into like the second question too, with like, obviously R-rated films have worked for them. You can tell stories that don't have to be a part of the greater universe.
Yeah,
you want to make
absolutely.
you want to make a Midnight Suns movie? Do it.
You do it.
Just do it by itself, and you can have a roster of whoever you want. It could be Blade and Ghost Rider, like the game did. You could have Magic and Colossus from the X-Men. You can bring in anybody you want, and have the MCU or the whatever universe stuff, and have your R-rated stuff on the side.
So Blade, as we'll mention, I mean, we could freely talk about Blade now because this movie's been out for a while.
Yes.
The problem I have now with the situation of Blade is like before that the Blade movie's been in development here for what, 5 years now? 4 or 5 years?
A constant mess.
And a lot of it is that the guy that they picked to play Blade has to sign off on the script, and every script they've given him, he's said no, because they all are trash. At this point, I don't think you can make a new Blade movie without involving Wesley Snipes because of how good he was. I would rather see one of two things when it comes to Blade. Either give me a Blade 4 and give him a proper send-off, or let him come back and pass the torch to this guy.
That's probably the safer way to do it. My worry is that I don't know that he can sustain an entire movie.
Well, he wouldn't have to if he's passing
that's
the
what I'm
torch.
saying, though. Like, you want to Blade 4, I think, is a mistake. I don't think he could carry an entire 2-hour movie anymore. He works.
Carry half of one.
He works in this movie because he's with Deadpool and an ensemble,
or he's with them, and give him his proper send off. But you also pass the torch to the new guy that's playing Blade, and I think people would be more accepting of that because, like I said, going into that movie, like I said, in my bingo card in my head of cameos we were going to see, he was not on it.
Not at all.
There's no fucking way that they're going to get him back. And not only did he come back, he stole the fucking movie.
Yeah,
like in many ways.
Well, that whole part of the movie stole the movie.
Steals it, but like it's just like, please do it. Like he proved time there, he can come back and slip right back into that character. So, but yeah, that would be my thing as far as like Midnight Suns and Marvel. Like, and with the bonus question here, if they decided to follow through with a Midnight Suns film, who would you want to be on the roster, and what are they going to go up against?
I think you take a lot of inspiration from that game.
Venom's in that game, right?
He is. He's a bad guy for part of it. But there's,
I don't know.
Like the good part about that game is there's a lot of people and then there's like some side stuff, like the second Ghost Rider, like the kid. There's Magic from the X-Men.
Oh god.
There's I'm trying to think of the other people, like Scarlet Witch, like people that fit into this.
I would love to see a proper Venom.
I don't think you get one.
I don't think you get it. Like it's like I've only ever saw the first Venom movie. It's whatever. I didn't watch the second one. I'm not gonna.
And in that game, they go up against Lilith, which is perfectly fine.
Okay,
she exists within that universe. Like, you could do the old standby of like Mephisto if you wanted to.
Wolverine's in that, but again, I don't think you get Hugh Jackman to do this.
No. I think he should be done. Like, that's a hot take. This is the perfect.
My hot take is I think that is fine if you're going to do anything else with him. Give him a cameo in Secret Wars, but like a scene, not like half the movie. But then I think at that point it is time to pass the torch to somebody else. Is it going to be hard? Yes. Yeah. It's going to be as hard to see somebody else play Wolverine as it is going to be whenever we get to the point where we get a new Tony Stark. That's going to be insane.
Gonna be one hell of a job.
I don't know what actor's going to be like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know.
I feel
it's like they have an uphill battle.
Well, I feel like the MCU right now, we're back on a path where you can get people excited. You're coming off the highest movie you've had in a very long time. You're leading into another movie which the Captain America like subsection of MCU stuff has all been good. Even Civil War is a little bloated, but it's still a good like spy type thing too.
There are parts of it, that are very much a Captain America movie, and the other parts where it was very much an Avengers.
And then we're finally kicking off Fantastic Four, and everybody loves it because the internet's dad is in the movie, so that's already sold. Even though I think that I still maintain that's a terrible casting choice, but fine.
I don't like that is the only casting in that movie
It
I don't
doesn't
care
make
for
any
either.
sense.
And I like Pedro.
I do too.
Pedro
It
Pascal
doesn't make
lot.
any sense.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
But I think we crested, we fell back down, and Deadpool is shooting it back up. And if we can maintain the momentum and we can make this Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom thing work, then I think we're leading towards a good conclusion. So I'm optimistic.
Let me ask this: if that's what they do with Robert Downey Jr., he is a variant. He's not actually Dr. Doom. Do you think they have actually cast an actor as a real Dr. Doom?
I don't think so, because they're paying him too much money to be a fake variant of Dr. Doom.
Well, they're always going to bring him back,
unless they fucking kill him off in this next one in Secret Wars is real Doom.
That'd be. I mean, I could see it in Secret Wars. I don't see it happening in Doomsday.
No. So. But I don't know. The amount of money he costs, the amount of money Russo's costs.
It's so much money.
It's wild. It's crazy to think about. It's like $200 million just to get the three of them back.
Private jet.
Yeah, I'm optimistic. We'll see how it goes. Captain America's next. That'll tell a lot of where we're going.
I think movie-wise, I think there are good things. I think TV show-wise, they got some not great stuff in the pipeline yet, because you got Agatha, that's going to be whatever. And then the other one that everybody forgets, and I think they're going to shit it out in January, like Echo, because for all intents and purposes, Echo was terrible from the little bit I saw of it, which really hurts and sucks, because you and I both love Vincent D'Onofrio Kingpin.
Oh, he's amazing.
Amazing. And I cannot...
Only person who could ever play him at this point.
I still have high optimism for the Daredevil show whenever we get it, because they did get rid of the crap people that were trying to make it something else and brought in people that want to make it a continuation. Right. So I think that'll be good. Hopefully that sticks like March, April of next year. I don't know if it's been delayed. So, but Ironheart, they have to shit that out.
I don't know how that's going to go.
I feel like that's going to go like Echo, January, all episodes one day and forgotten about. So. But yeah, as far as movies go, I mean, Captain America is looking good, shockingly, for how many fucking reshoots that movies have.
Well, it's because they've been fixing the MCU in between, so they got to keep up with it.
And the little bit that I saw of like concept art that they showed this year at Comic-Con for Fantastic Four, that's looking good. It looks
real good.
So. And again, the rest of that cast is perfectly fine. Yeah. Like I will say, like I know you haven't watched The Bear, but the dude that they picked from The Bear that's playing Ben Grimm, fantastic, perfect.
Hey, the thing is a weird one, because as long as he has the right attitude, he's fine.
He has the right mannerisms, so he's gonna be
as long
really
as he can
good.
say it's clobbering time, he's fine.
Oh, I'm sure that guy's been practicing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, great couple of questions there, and we'll follow it up with this next email, although this one's more for me. Gabe from Cincinnati, Ohio. Hi guys, love the channel and the podcast. Been a fan for a while. Question I have is more for Kyle, but I'm curious. Being a big Batman fan that you are, if someone was to give you a $200 million budget and a blank slate, what Batman story would you want to tell as a movie, and who would you choose as actors to be in it? I actually went over this question with my girlfriend last night, because obviously she's a big Batman fan too. She was surprised at my answer. She didn't think this was what I was going to pick. So my favorite Batman story of all time, and I made a video about it on the channel a long time ago, probably when I started the channel, is Nightfall. So that entire story arc, not just the Bane part of it, but I love the character of Azrael. And I would kill to see a live action version of that story, and a good versus bad Batman. This is where it's gonna get a little weird, and even for her, like she thought my girlfriend, because I ran it by her last night. She's like, I can see it though. I'm still hung up on like who would play Bane. I'm still hung up on that. But for Batman, I would pick your buddy Jensen Ackles, who played Soldier Boy. He's voiced Batman a lot in these animated movies, and he's expressed a lot of interest in playing him live action. I kind of have a feeling that he is still kind of a front runner to play Batman in James Gunn's DCU, and I could see it. I would pick him as regular Batman, and then as the twist, I would pick your buddy Reacher, Alan Richardson, who has expressed playing Batman, to play Paul Valley bad Batman, because that guy has the physicality, and I think that he Because my girlfriend's like, well, why don't you have him play Bane? I'm like, nah, because the guy wants to play Batman, but that's a good twist. Like, he's still playing Batman, but he's a very unhinged Batman. That guy's also religious in real life, and Jean Paul Valley has that like weird religious undertone aspect to his character, and that dude could totally pull that off because it's really weird. So for me, that's what I would, as far as like other actors, and I'm not going to go through that, but that is what I would do. I'd take that $200 million, make that first part in a good faith that it would be successful, and I'd be able to make the other two parts into a movie. So, but that's what I would do. That's the story I would always see. I put on here as a bonus, but like if you were going to pick right now what's going on, obviously we know Matt Reeves is doing the Batman Part 2. If I were to pick what I want him to do, I want him to do the Court of Owls.
Yeah.
I think that fits Detective Batman. And he could, you could knock that out. Remember, Gotham did it, but they did a shitty job with it. They tried to do it in that Gotham Knights game. The Court of Owls is in it. It's done a little bit better there, but like nobody's ever done it perfectly like the comic. And I think that guy could do it and do a really good job with it. So those are my answers for that. I know you're not going to have any answers for that because
no, I don't think about that stuff. I would have answers for Spider-Man, but I'd have to think about those for a while for what I would do.
Somebody should write in and ask Dan about Spider-Man. That's what I'm going to ask. So he has some time to think about that.
Yeah, I would need time to think about that because it depends on if
see, the thing is, you're eating pretty good as a Spider-Man fan right now. Like that's the thing.
It depends on if I'd have to ignore the other Spider-Man shit that's going on. If I'm making a Spider-Man 4, or if I can just make my own movie.
If it's a hypothetical like that, and that's the way I read it. It's a hypothetical question. You make whatever you want. That's what it'd become. I'd either have
am I making Spider-Man 4, or am I restarting it? You know what I mean? Because
I'll tell you really.
I do know my answer if I was going to restart it, but I'll save it. I'll save it for.
Okay. I will tell you the thing that confused my girlfriend is that neither of these have my favorite villain. And she's like, I'm surprised you're not going to do that. And I said, because I don't think it could work in 2024.
I don't think
that is the ventriloquist.
Say, your favorite villain doesn't really get.
They tried to do a Saw version. Yeah. It didn't work.
I got lucky. I got lucky where they did mine and they did him really well. So
they did him really well in Gotham for one episode, and then somebody fucking killed him.
Well,
so that made me mad. We can move on to the next email. We have an email from Jonathan from Redacted. Howdy 572 crew. Love when you guys get on the GameStop subject and have enjoyed the advice that you've given to other current and former employees over the time your podcast has been around that I have been listening. I am a current and hopefully soon to be ex-store manager at a store, and I'm curious if you guys have ever dealt with the infamous customer type that will come in and declare, I used to work here. You know the type, always annoying, always going on about how different and better things were 20 years ago when they worked at GameStop and how today's much worse. I had a guy recently who came in and very obnoxiously had to keep reminding me that he used to work for GameStop. It's almost like he was using it as a crux to get something out of me, be it a discount or whatnot. I just find it extremely annoying. Any stories or situations you guys dealt with at your time that you worked for the company? I mean, you'd always get that weird customer that would come
every
in.
so often, but
I used to work.
It would be like, I used to work. I was a holiday GA like 3 years ago. It's like, so you were no one? Like, that means nothing.
Yeah, those are always a good one, yeah. So you worked two shifts?
Yeah, where did you work? Was it here? Because it wasn't here. I don't care. It wasn't that often. I mean, this is 8 years ago for us now. It wasn't.
Did we ever have anybody come in that had previously worked at the store we had worked at?
I'm trying to think.
That was like, I would say management level, not regular.
Because who would that have been? That would have been...
That had left.
That's what I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, we'll say names because it doesn't mean anything to anyone, but like, that would have been like Rob, Emily, no. No one that at our store. I'm trying to think of who else would have even been there. You knew people from before I even got there.
Yeah, and like the problem is the people that I knew from that period, like either some of them were still working for the company at different locations, right, or there were people that just had moved on. Right. Don't even live in the state.
Some of them have been shit canned too for certain reasons.
But you would definitely, like, every once in a while you get that person that, like, maybe they didn't used to work at your store, but they maybe worked, like, I used to work
or I worked in the city, or I worked at in a different state. You'd be like, what? That means nothing to me.
Exactly.
I will say that I say it when I go into other. I avoid it as much as possible, but I will say it if I sense that whoever's helping me is like flustered, or they're just having a bad day and they're stressed out and they're in the middle of something. But hey, I used to work here. It's cool. You do what you got to do. Like, take a break. You don't have to worry about me. I'm not busy.
Yeah.
Like, take a break.
No, now I take it back. I have dropped it twice. Once in a situation like you're describing at the store over where I live, and then once I had to drop it. And I think you remember this. This was when I was going through. There was some promotion that was going on, and it wasn't scanning correctly. Yeah. And I was trying, like, the guy behind the counter was like really like not understanding this. Like, and that was one of those times where I had to explain, like, homie, I used to work here. Like, you just scan this, and this, and
see if it does.
Like, it's and see if it does. Like, I don't know how many times I had to explain this guy, like, just scan these things this way and see if it works. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Like, and if it doesn't, okay, cool. I'm not going to bitch about it.
I will say, like, I do also drop it to get out of the sales pitch at the end, especially these days where now it's like credit cards. And
now it's like a 3-paragraph.
Trade in your graded trading cards. Like, hey, I used to work here. Just adds up. Like, I don't need anything else. I just need this game that I had to come here to buy because it's the only place that had it. And I just want to leave. Or, like, I do enjoy going into GameStops and looking around, especially now that I bring my kids. My kids like to look at all this shit. Go ahead and go crazy. Yeah. But, like, I'm trying to think of any kind of scenario where, like, it never happened at Game Crazy because nobody fucking worked at Game Crazy.
No, that's different. I was gonna say.
There weren't that many of them, and especially in our area.
So it wasn't like there was a Game Crazy down the road, whereas, like, at that time there were 2 GameStops that were like you could throw a rock at the other.
Our closest Game Crazy was 40 minutes in one direction, 40 minutes in the other, or 3 hours in the other direction.
Yeah.
So that never really came up. I barely even got customers that said they've ever been to a Game Crazy before
or heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, we never really got like the super annoying. Well, I used to work. I could do this job better. It's because, like, I to be honest, I wouldn't have listened to it. And I've been like, yeah, man, I would have just told them, like, yeah, it's real different now, and just made shit up. You don't know. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, man, it's crazy. We get cards all the time. What was your percentage? Oh, you had 20%? I'm at like 35 all the time. Whatever number they would have said, I would have just blown it up, like doubled it. Yeah, 10% reserves, man. Was that all they were asking for back then? I'm getting 35.
No, it's 50. Yeah, 40. There you go.
What are you reserving? Just to lay it back on it. I didn't like taking shit from almost anybody. It's funny. I was talking to somebody I work with now about how the number one thing I always hate, and this is kind of relevant because he talked about it. Hey, man, can I get like an extra discount, or can you give me your discount? And every time somebody would ask me that, my initial response was always, I can raise the price.
Yeah, no,
they'd be like, "Can I get 10% off?" So I can raise the price 10%, and then they would laugh, and I'd be like, "What's funny?" I can do that's easy to do.
Laugh every time.
It's just like, don't ask me stupid shit, man. Can I come to your job and not pay for stuff? How about that? Where do you work? Exactly. Oh, you do construction? Will you put up drywall in my house for free? It's the same thing you're asking. Like, leave me alone. I'm here to push numbers on a keyboard, bro. Like, I'm not. You think I set the prices in here? Everybody, the people who thought we set prices, amazed me. You must not leave your house very often. Do you have ever been to a grocery store? What do you think happens there?
Yeah, like, do you think every grocery store sets their own prices?
Dude, like, my God. No. People were so ignorant to what GameStop is. I remember, a little off topic, this will be the last thing I say, some crazy woman who thought we could just print the games in the back. We were never out of Wii games because I had a machine back there where I could just go back there and make one. Ma'am, you think we make games here? That's not at all what this is. Those are done in large factories.
It's got a machine back there.
Yeah, like I get it shipped in. Wow. Imagine if we could.
Insane.
Wow.
Our final email. It's a doozy. It comes to us from Eugene from Franklin, New Hampshire. Howdy, guys. Several episodes back when you guys were talking about dumb Gamergate 2 situation, you had all talked about the horror deal with Smash JT's website being taken down by Nick Calandra of Second Wind. I'm not sure if you guys are still following what's been happening, but I wanted to write in and point out that you were exactly correct. It's come out recently after one of the biggest parts of Second Wind, Frost, is leaving and supposedly posting a large video about why he's leaving, cited that Nick is the single reason he's leaving the company. He's also made it known that the other leaders and members of the company had an intervention and sat Nick down and warned him about his social media usage and how it is starting to damage the company. Going to be very interesting to see, but it really seems like he may actually be let go from Second Wind. So yeah, I will point out, and I do know of this because I didn't know who this Frost guy was. I've never watched any of Second Wind's content. I don't know anything.
Avoid it, but
I don't know if it's good or bad. And there's also a dude that works there named Yahtzee, and apparently he's a very popular YouTuber that got roped into this company. But like, I never watched a video of that guy too. But the funny thing about this is, and that I believe that's what I had said too, is like, if I feel like at some point they had to have sat this guy down, like, you need to fucking stop or this company is going to go under. And that, you know, we're now vindicated with knowing that's exactly what happened.
Right.
So this Frost dude, from what I looked into, he was like the third level. So what's funny is with their Patreon, they let all their numbers, they actually have all their numbers of what they earn public. So for example, the Yahtzee guy makes, I believe it's $12,500 a month. Nick Calandra makes $8,000 a month, which seems wild because this guy does
too
nothing.
much.
And then the guy under him is Frost, who makes literally half of that. Okay, to put that in perspective. But that guy was apparently doing a lot of the job. Yeah, he just all of a sudden one day I opened up Twitter, which I hate opening. It's more like Twitter is like just a doom scrolling app now. That's what it's been reduced to. But I have to open it to post stuff about the podcast and about the YouTube channel. So, but I happened to see this post from this guy, and like I didn't know who he was, but I read his little thing because it says it's Second Wind. I'm like, isn't the place where that one dude works? So I read through it, and like, yeah, he literally cites Nick Calandra as the single reason why he's leaving. He actually posted a very short like snippet of whatever video he's putting out where they had some sort of argument about like not being able to get someone relegated to be HR of this fucking company that they've started, which seems wild that it's been going on for 6 months and they don't have an HR person. It's just, all of it is wild and seems not shocking. And the other thing I'll say too is like, that dude did for a while, this Nick Calandra guy, and I don't personally know the guy. I'll never speak to this man, but like, the stuff that he's done is pretty damning to some of these other things, like getting that guy's website taken down. I understand why he pushed for it, but still was
get it. But it's not your place.
He went around in the wrong way. Yeah. He was off social media for like 2 weeks and he came back. He made a huge fucking mistake when he came back, and that was he went on one of these podcasts and decided to have an argument. And I'll tell you exactly the podcast he went on because you know a little bit about this. He went on the Side Scrollers podcast, and the reason he went on it is because the guy that runs that, Stuttering Craig, started that campaign about Take Games Back, and he's like, that's not going to work. And so he told them, like, come on, we'll talk about it. And they went through everything. Not just about Take Games Back. They asked him the hard question about what happened with all the Gamergate stuff, getting that guy's website taken down. I don't know if you know this, but at some point that 8-Bit Eric guy was roped into this. God, where so that dude, I don't know if you've watched any content that guy's made in a while, because like he hasn't shown up in any game chasers videos in a while.
Yeah,
he's just a reactionary YouTuber now.
Sure.
So he kind of went off on this Nick Calandra guy, and that guy went after him to the point that he and some other guy that's roped into this actually contacted his work, and they pulled a snippet out of one of his live streams, because he's like streaming Fortnite or something, about where he was talking about like today's current dating scene is kind of fucked up, you know, and that dude's a 40-year-old dude. And he's talking about how you know, went to the bar and was trying to pick up younger girls, as in, you know, 21 and up.
Okay.
But they took that as, you know, where they went with it. And they sent that snippet and emailed it to his work.
Oh, my God.
Look at what this dude's doing and what he's saying, and took it all out of context. Obviously, this dude's work didn't believe that, but he called it out. and he called this other guy out. The other guy's name, I believe, you can look it up on Twitter. His Twitter doesn't exist anymore. He got so battered by it, he deleted his Twitter. If you go to his handle, it literally just says bye. No tweets are there.
Wow.
Guy's name, I believe, is John John Feeps, I think. This guy, real piece of garbage. But anyways, the whole thing about that is he went and called that guy out publicly in a YouTube video that had a picture of him in like the thumbnail, and that guy went nuts on Twitter and was like, I'm gonna get this lawyer to come after you. So he had a lawyer come after 8-Bit Eric,
man.
like an internet lawyer. And so apparently 8-Bit Eric, his cousin or his brother or something is a real life lawyer. So they looked into this guy and realized this guy's not a real lawyer. And that all crumbled. Like all of this shit just crumbles. Like, nah, everything you're saying to me doesn't mean anything. And that all ended. And that resulted, like I said, in this guy that originally did this is just not on Twitter anymore. Bye. It's his Twitter handle. So that's a little sidebar part of this, but Nick Calandra was involved in that too, and he was asked about that, and he had no good answers. And then the entire time he's trying to say on the thing, like, oh, I'm just a moderate. Like, nah, dude, it seems like you're an extreme one way here. Like, but because of that appearance and because he started it up again, I think that's why his whole company's collapsing now. Because he couldn't keep his mouth shut, and the rest of those people don't want that. They just want to make their YouTube content.
It's weird that consequences have actions. Like, it's
like, what you said, like it matters.
People,
like, you gotta
it's because we live in this world now where like people don't understand what freedom of speech means. Freedom of speech means you can say almost anything you want. We'll say, like, in theory, it should be everything. You can say almost anything you want, and no one can tell you no. But it doesn't mean that it won't have lasting ramifications on your personal life or your career when you spout off nonsense.
And you should also be prepared to defend something that's wild.
Yes.
In my opinion, like, you're gonna say, if you're gonna make a wild claim or like, you should be prepared to defend it,
right? Because
people will come after it if they look and they go, "This is weird."
If there's anything in it that doesn't make sense, they'll come after it.
Yeah,
but it's crazy how this just keeps going, man. It just
how is it still going?
I don't know. The engine keeps turning.
It started last November and then kicked off really in February. Also, the point, like, I hate calling it Gamergate too,
it's not
because it's not. It's just the culture war.
It's not
edition.
Gamergate is very different from what this is.
From what this is. I don't know where at some point someone was like, "We need to call it Gamergate 2."
No, that's a mistake. Gamergate was about much worse stuff than this.
A much worse situation.
Yeah, much worse stuff. This is all just people being assholes on the internet to each other and picking fights all the time and not backing it up.
A lot.
And it's just, and it's because the world we live in now is you pick fights, like piss people off.
I laugh when I read the email though, because I'm like, I had to think back and I'm like, no, that's exactly what I said. Is like, there has to be a situation in which they sat this dude down. Like, you need to stop, man. Like, this is absurd.
Yeah.
You're tanking this company. Like, just go look at his Twitter. Like, it's just like, what are you doing?
Right.
In comparison to go look at the company's Twitter, where it's like, hey, we put up this new video today about this game. Maybe come check it out.
And these days, like, if your personal beliefs, no matter what part of the company you are in, start bringing fire back on the company and the founders, it's far easier to cut you than to do anything else. And we won't. We're not going to get into this because I don't want to spend an hour on it, but this is what's happening to Mr. Beast right now.
Oh yeah,
like you and I agree, and Matt, I'm sure you agree too. Nothing can take him down. It doesn't matter. The man could say, "I killed 100 people live on stream for $1,000," and it doesn't matter.
Surprised I haven't seen that as a meme.
That would honestly probably get more views. But the stuff with like other people who are part of his company might be pedophiles. Gee, that person was gone immediately because it's not worth anything else to bother to back them up and say, well, let's wait and see. We're not a wait and see place anymore now. It's all immediate reactions to stuff, and you got to cover your ass. His empire is gonna be under fire for a while, but it's not going anywhere.
No,
he's the number one YouTube channel.
Yeah, he's the number one. Yeah, and YouTube makes money, and YouTube is unregulated. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
And
he can has that Amazon show has that happened or
it's coming?
It's coming, okay. Because he can if he does some dumb shit in that, he can get in trouble for that. A lot harder
if it's online and it's not broadcast over the FCC thing, it doesn't matter. Streaming rules are wild. I watched the whole lawyer video thing about this.
Okay.
Streaming rules are incredibly different, and there are almost no rules.
Was it the sick ass lawyer you sent me a video of with his sweet intro of like the rap song?
No, not
and, like,
that guy. That guy's cool as hell.
That dude, amazing.
I love that dude. You don't have to give a shit.
Oh man, what was his name? What's his name?
I'll have to look it up again. But that man does not fucking care. He's great.
No, he doesn't. He was firing a gun at one point in the intro. Like,
yeah,
he sells
fantastic. Merch that says stuff that like "Don't snitch on yourself" or something like that.
Damn.
That was
because he's a criminal defense lawyer. I'm pretty sure. And he's just like,
yeah.
I'm sure he's had.
You should find that and send that to Matt.
I
later.
will.
That'll blow.
That guy
your mind.
is amazing.
His intro insane.
I thought it was funny, and then that intro played, and I went, "Hold up!" I paused it. It was like, I gotta send this to Kyle like now.
God damn it! Now you mentioned Mr. Beast. We're gonna get like 3 emails about that next week.
Well, we can talk about it in depth next week. Maybe,
we can talk about it.
Maybe more stuff will come out.
Somebody emails in.
I organize public executions. That'll be the next one.
Yeah, insane. Yeah. But as always, send your emails into podcast572@gmail.com. Otherwise, we'll be back in another 2 weeks for another edition of the podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.